Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back. Glad to see everyone in chat. Oh my gosh. Knocked. I haven't even had a chance to say not to do that yet. I appreciate it, Knocked. Welcome back, everyone. Going to give folks a few minutes to get in here. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Happy Tuesday, Alyssa. What up, M Code? What up, K-Doge, Edurante, Chow's Night? Welcome back, everyone. Hey, glad to have you. So, today's question is a very important one. It's, would you rather be a reverse centaur or a reverse merperson? So would you rather have a human body and centaur head, or human body and like mermaid-ish type head? So you get to pick reverse centaur or reverse mermaid. Put that in chat for me, please. Welcome back, everybody. What's up? How's everybody doing? Arasi, what's up? Kayla, how you doing? Definitely not reverse centaur. All right. Reverse centaur for you. Reverse merperson would be like a mermaid, but only your head. You still have like a human body, but like you have like a mermaid head. So maybe like you can breathe underwater. That maybe could be like the cool thing. All right. Chow's Night, geez. Thank you. So I was going to hold off for a few seconds to kind of get into the whole affiliate thing. But if you're in the Discord, you would have saw in the Discord today that when I shared the materials, I shared a few things that have changed. The biggest thing that's changed over the weekend, I accepted the Twitch affiliate agreement. And the reason I accepted the Twitch affiliate agreement was for only two reasons. The first reason was that I wanted to have maybe a better probability of getting the quality settings. So a lot of our folks don't watch the stream in the highest settings possible. They watch the settings that make it easier for them and their level of internet access to enjoy the stream. And the way that works is that Twitch partners always get the quality settings. And then if there's any leftover server muscle, right? If there's ever any leftover server muscle, that goes to the affiliates. And then if the affiliates are okay and they're fully good, then it goes to anyone else. So we were sometimes getting the quality settings, but hopefully now that we're an affiliate, we'll get those settings a lot more often. The other big thing is that we get channel points. And so with channel points, you can do some really fun stuff. So you can make me hydrate, make me stretch, all the things I tell y'all to do when we take a break. You can redeem your channel points to do that. Channel points are completely free. You get them just by being in chat, participating, doing our raids, things like that. But some of the channel points have some really cool features, like the ability to have me review your resume, or have me look at your portfolio, or build a custom learning plan. So things that I normally do for folks in the Discord channel, but I can't always get to everyone, this guarantees you get to it. So the more you participate, the more you do in chat for free, the more points you get, and you can redeem those points for different lovely things here on stream. So you can make sure I'm hydrated by you're always in chat, so you're gonna have these points really quickly, and there's a 300 point redemption, which you'll get like after an hour of half of being in stream. You can make me do those things. Yeah, so welcome back, everyone. I'm kind of just explaining the whole affiliate thing. So hopefully better access to the stream codes. Jesus, oh Rossi, thank you. The better access to stream quality, and hopefully really fun things with the ability to have channel points. But I want this to be a completely free stream. I'm making a commitment that for as long as I put out educational content, Jesus, that thank you, Omar, I appreciate it. For as long as I make content, I will always release it for free. I'm never going to put it behind a paywall. I'm never going to put it behind a subscription. Everything that I ever produce will always absolutely 100% positively be free. Okay? Now, anything that you cheer or subscribe or anything like that for now, because remember, this is not my goal, all that's being donated to where I work during the day, which is Resilient Coders. So Resilient Coders is a free nonprofit boot camp for individuals of color in the Boston area. We take them from kind of minimal technical skill all the way to employable as software engineers. We're pretty dang good at it. So anything that anything that you subscribe or donate or cheer, all that's going to Resilient Coders for the foreseeable future. So please don't don't feel the need to subscribe. It really does not. That's not why we're here. We're here to learn. I want it to be free. If you choose to do that, just because it's now an option, all that's going to Resilient Coders. So that's kind of what we're doing for right now. My lame jokes will finally be a currency, Miriam. They will be. Honduran Coder always has 300 already. All right, so some cool things about the channel points while we're here and we're letting folks get comfortable. Is that with the channel points, they're like goals that I'm setting up. So we talked about in one of the previous classes, me doing a class on Css3 Animations. And so if you want that class to happen, you can use your channel points to push that over the line, right? So if you take your channel points, you can put it towards that class, and it has a pretty high goal, but if everybody contributes to it, then I'll run that class, right? So Thursday is our last class. Luck Monkey, geez, thank you. Thursday, oh my God, this is a bad idea. I didn't want this to happen. This is weird. If you contribute your channel points to that, then I'll run that class. So Thursday's technically our last class. And then after Thursday, I'm going to take like a 1 week break, and then we're coming back with a really important, a really cool class that I'm going to run. It's going to be a long form class. I'm going to announce all of that on Thursday. So we're probably going to take like a 1 week break. After that break, we're coming back, and we're going to do a longer form class. So I'm excited. Cool. Thank you, David, for the bits. Cool. So that's kind of the quick rundown of kind of the points and the donos and the subscriptions and stuff like that. I'm still setting it all up. I put it all like together over the weekend and on Monday. So there's probably still some weird things, some things that I haven't thought about. Maybe there might not be an emote for when you subscribe, stuff like that. I know a lot of that stuff's still being reviewed. So there might be some hiccups. I promise I'll work on those as we kind of continue. But the big thing that I'm really hoping for is that we get the ability to select the quality, because if we can do that, then I think, God damn it. Levano, thank you. I appreciate it. Everyone in chat showing out. I appreciate that. It's going to a good cause. Resilient Coders has changed the lives of a lot of my students. A lot of the students that have been helping you, a lot of the mentors that have been helping you, all come from Resilient Coders. So I'm glad that we can send some money their way. I'm also employed by Resilient Coders, so just throw that out there as well. Nash, geez, thank you. So what Alyssa, thank you. Any plans on getting little Leon emojis? Yes. There's one that's in review right now, because when you upload them, they have to like be reviewed by a human to make sure that you didn't do something like explicit. So there is a little Leon, the Learn with Leon logo that's being uploaded right now, and then I'm going to work on other ones for the different tiers. So I appreciate it. Thank you to everyone that subscribed. Bagnash, I'm getting forced to say all your names now. Some of them are difficult. So yeah. All right. So let's that I think I got permission to call them micro Leon emojis. Yes, please. I love the micro Leon. I think we're gonna go for a good vibes one. I'm gonna get that made this weekend. We're gonna go for a little Leon one. And then maybe like a Domino's or a Nuns one, something along those lines. Whatever the memes that we've brought up in class, we're gonna turn them into the emojis. Yeah. Miss Turner, I accepted affiliate over the weekend. What that does, Izzy, thank you. I appreciate it. What that enables you to do is to subscribe and do cheers and stuff like that. But you don't need to do that. Please don't do that. That's the side effect of what I wanted the affiliate for. The affiliate is so that we can hopefully get better quality and stream, and we have the cool channel points. So that's kind of why we have it. Everything else is extra. All the stuff that gets donated, all the bits that get cheered, and all that fun stuff. That's all going to a nonprofit called Resilient Coders, where I work during the day. We're a nonprofit coding bootcamp for students of color in the Boston area. So that's what we're doing. Let's go ahead and get to question. Let's go to questions. I'm going to bring up little Leon. Denova, thank you for the subscription. I appreciate it. Y'all need to knock it off. This is gonna be this is too much. Thank you though. Cool. So questions. Mayan, thank you. I appreciate it. I like had like this really long like paragraph of like, please don't do this, please don't do this. I posted some of it in the Discord update, but Honduran, thank you. I appreciate it. It's going to a good cause. Resilient Coders, we do great work, so everything will go to them at the end of the day. Cool. K-Koffs, thanks for the contribution to the class. That looks cool. So what I would like to do, yeah, please, like this the whole point of this bootcamp and this channel is to make it free for folks to learn how to code. That's all I want from this channel. I want folks to never spend a cent to learn how to code. So if you're sitting here saying, hey, I'm just here to learn how to code, you're at the right spot. I don't want you to subscribe. I don't want you to donate. I don't want you to cheer. I want you to learn, invest in yourself, right? And get the job that's going to help secure yourself and your family. Jeez. Alyssa, thanks for the gift sub. That's awesome. So I'm just going to keep saying this because this is the first time I'm not going to pay this much attention to all this stuff going forward. I just wanted to bring it up because it's going to be a thing now. But I would love to get to questions about code, questions about functions, questions about things that you had from the reading, questions about life, anything that's coming up. I'm going to start looking at chat and going through it. Yeah, Ziggy, I think we're going to have to do a sub command. I think that's a great idea. When you reckon the next class will take place after this week? I'm going to take 1 week, not off. I'm just going to take a week to like build out everything. It's going to take Alyssa, thanks for the gift sub. K-Koffs, thanks for the subscription. I'm going to take a week off to build out the course. And then we're going to come back the week after that. So there should be a 1 week gap between this class and the next one. And then we'll get right back to it. So that's kind of the goal, is like one week, and then we're right back to it. I might do like some smaller one-off classes just so folks have a place to come and hang out for a little bit, like just maybe like a half-hour stream or something like that. But taking about a week to get everything together, and then after that week, we'll be right back. How was your weekend? My weekend was hot. It was 113 degrees where I was. I was talking to some folks over the weekend and during my office hours on Monday, and it hit 119 where they were at. So it's been hot. There's a lot of forest fires in California right now, and so like the smoke is blocking out the sun. When I was driving, I couldn't like see the mall signs because there was so much smoke in the air that I literally couldn't see signs. So weekend was good. Had some time to relax, spend some time with family, get some work done. So it was a good weekend. Shante, thank you for the subscription. Rav said, would you ever do a class to teach people how to plan out a class to teach one? Yeah, I think that'd be interesting if somebody would be interested in that. If you are, hit me up on Discord. Maybe we can think about something like that. Last avatar, sneakily watching from work. I hope everything's going well. Hope you don't get in trouble at work. Did you say something about being more selective who could be in the next class? Yeah, so Redbird, the next class, maybe I should just reveal it now. I have two classes that I want to do. I want to do a JavaScript class, and then I want to do a longer form class that helps people go from 0 to employed. Okay. For the longer form class from 0 to employed, that is going to be selective, and I'm going to ask for a lot of information up front. Basically, I just want to make sure people are committed. Once again, it could be completely free. You'll never pay a dime for it. I just want to make sure people are committed. With the current bootcamp, it kind of fell off a little bit. All right, like we have really good traction in chat, and like we're having a good class. But folks like submitting homeworks and stuff. The first week or two they were good, and then it kind of slowed down. So I want to make sure that the folks that join the longer form class are really in it for the long haul. They have a better idea of like my teaching style and what the class might be. So now they kind of know what they're committing to. And so it'll be definitely a little bit longer of an application process. I'm going to announce it first on Twitter, then I'll share it in our Discord, and then I'm going to ask folks to kind of share it and apply. And so that's going to be like the one that has a lot more, that's going to be a little bit longer of an application process, but just to make sure that folks are committed and they want to learn and they're going to grow like that. Okay, like you look forward to classes. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm hoping that like as we grow, the community grows. We can kind of help folks learn, have accountability buddies. And so I have a lot of stuff planned as we kind of continue. This was like our test run. This is to see if things work, if people would be interested. And so I appreciate you all showing up and hanging out and learning some code, and let's have some fun. Am I buying any of the fires, Alyssa? No, I'm not buying any of the fires. The fires are kind of like either to the north or south of me. But where I am, the smoke is blowing. So one day I came out, the sun was like blacked out. You just saw like a red haze, and there's like ash falling from the sky. But they're not close to me. They're just all the smoke is blowing our way. Loveno asked, hey, I've been trying to recreate some of the landing pages from scratch, but I'm having to Google some of the basics of CSS. Is that okay, or should I spend more time reviewing CSS until it becomes basically memorized? No. In the beginning, the biggest muscle that's important for you to flex is learning how to learn, right? Like syntax is separate. If you can learn how to learn and apply that to any language that you're currently learning, that's going to be way more valuable down the line. So if you're having to like Google things, read documentation, that's a huge win, right? Like learning how to do that efficiently is going to pay off no matter what you do going forward. So if you're having to look up things, yeah, that's okay. Like research is really important. But if you're noticing that you're looking up the same thing over and over again, it's time to use something like a spaced repetition tool like Anki so that your forgetting curve is being flattened. Okay. All right. There's all these new alerts that are coming up that are really interesting. So 25% of the way to the Css3 Animations class based on the channel points people have put towards it. So that's cool. So yeah, it's okay. Learning how to learn and learning how to research and read documentation is a really important part of the process. But if you do realize that same thing's happening over and over again, you probably should spend a little bit more time with Anki and for flattening that forgetting curve. Amvitran, long form is just like a longer class. I want to do a whole class where folks can feel ready to like start applying for jobs, and that's going to take a lot more time. It's going to take a lot more prep on my end. So I think that's what I'm talking about. Manor has snow right now? Jeez. Did you mention a survey on our thoughts of the experience? Yeah, I'm going to send out a survey after the last class just to get folks' feedback on what they think we should improve, what should change. Anonymous cheer, thank you. I'm going to figure out kind of like what needs to be changed, and I'm going to put a lot more work into the like visual aspect of the stream. So I've upgraded cameras, better mics, better lights, like all that stuff, and I'm moving to a place where I can kind of get all this stuff like in a permanent position, so we won't have that humming of the aircon in the background. The stream quality will go way up. A lot more fun and interactive things that we can add, and then looking for feedback on kind of how everything went. So I'll send that out after Thursday. Doge, we're going to continue with functions today, and then Thursday we're going to get into loops, arrays, and we'll hint at objects, but we're not going to go too deep into them. Cool. Same, camera turned off in my Zoom meeting, refused to miss another class. I love the energy. That's awesome. Cool. All right, so just kind of going through chat real quick to make sure there's not any specific questions. All right, so chat's picking up a little bit here. Yeah, a lot of folks are in California in the boot camp, so if you're all or near the fires, please stay safe. Cool. Yeah, so the 0 to employable will probably be, like, I'm going to talk more about it on Thursday, and then I'm going to announce the sign up on Twitter. Yeah, that long form class would cover React for sure. I don't have a time on the length yet, Alyssa. It's going to have to be long, though. If I want to get people to employable, it's going to be a couple weeks. So I'm thinking, I'm thinking that it's going to be still Tuesday, Thursdays, and then if I'm going to send out a survey about another day of the week. I would like to have 3 days a week that we meet, just to kind of move a little bit faster, but we'll figure it out. Andrew, they say Leon's about to join Phase for academics. That'd be hilarious. That'd be really great. Yeah, the longer form class will definitely have like more on how to network and stuff like that. And I'm going to do a side class on that anyway. Youngin, thanks. Never have to update the stylish locks. Cool. I've been trying to practice JavaScript on free Codecamp. Is that a resource you recommend? Or what are the other good ways to practice JS? I'm just not grasping how to do it. Free Codecamp's a good place to practice for sure. They hold your hand a little bit. I'm going to send out a bunch of practice. We're going to do some practice today, and then I'm going to keep sending out practice problems. So every week I'm going to send out practice problems for folks, and so that's a good way to get kind of some early practice. Repetition's also important in the beginning. When you're first learning all this syntax and stuff, it's so hard to wrap your mind around that it really helps to kind of repeat things, delete your code, try it again. So that's kind of the thing that we're going to do. DeJesus, appreciate it. Nick, appreciate it. Yeah, Miriam, the longer class will also be on Twitch. Everything's going to be on Twitch. Everything's going to be open. Everything's going to be free. You never have to worry about not being able to have any of the content that I produce. Yeah, I like javascript.info a lot as well. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate it. It's going straight to RC. So DeJesus was an expert in residence at Resilient Coders, good friend, and also mentor in the Discord channel. Cool. All right. I would love to get into it. I'm going to do... Yeah, I talk about him all the time. I talk about him at least probably like once a stream. He's the one that put out T7 Chicken, self-taught how to code, is a beast now. If you ever get into the React world, you're definitely going to see him giving talks and things like that. So we're lucky to have him. All right. Let's get into this, folks. We got a lot of stuff to cover. I want to just say this one more time. just because more folks are here now, I want to say this one more time. The subscriptions, the cheering, the donations, don't worry about those. I did affiliate for one reason and one reason only. That reason was so that we could have more quality options for folks that need them, and hopefully have some fun with these channel points. All the other stuff, the subscriptions, things like that, don't fade. Like, we don't need that. This is supposed to be 100% free. This is meant for folks that are being impacted by the pandemic, that are laid off, that are kind of hurting right now. This is supposed to be a place for them to come and learn, to hopefully improve some skills, and to hopefully eventually get a job. That's what I always want this focus to be. So if you do any of those things, I appreciate you. It's all going to resilient coders as a donation. So it's not necessary. I want to really, really make sure, like, I don't want anyone to feel bad. I don't want anybody to think that, like, you have to do it. Please don't. Like, if you want to support me directly, go follow me on Twitter. That I care about that more, right? So please don't worry about it. It's a side effect of the things that we care about. All right. Alrighty. So, we got through questions. Let's talk about what we're going to cover today. So today, we are going to talk about imposter syndrome, which is a really important topic to cover as we start to learn the basics of JavaScript, start getting into the swing of things, and start to feel bad about the things that we may not know yet. We're going to recover what is programming. We're going to spend some time reviewing some of the JavaScript basics that we covered last class. We're going to review two of the things that were homework from last class, extend and add on to them. We're going to build a temperature converter as a lab. We're going to take about 10-15 minutes to build that as a lab. Then we're going to cover functions in depth. We're going to build simple functions together. And by the end of today's class, you should feel really comfortable with variables, conditionals, and functions. Next class, we'll add loops, arrays, and a little bit of objects to the mix so that you kind of know all the basics of JavaScript that you need. And then for homework, there's just some reading. It's going to be javascript.info, which is a really great resource for learning JavaScript, the JS way, which you've all seen before, and one other thing just to get yourself in the right mindset for next Thursday. So those are the things that we'll be covering today. Alyssa, that was beautiful. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. Imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is one of the things that I've seen affect my students the most. It's something that affects me on a regular basis. And it's the idea that you feel like an imposter, meaning that you feel like you don't belong. You feel like you don't know anything. You feel like the skills that you have aren't valid, that you don't deserve them. And it's something that I've seen affect almost all of my students at different points in time. And so it's something that you have to know that you're going to run into. This idea that you're going to feel like as you're learning things, you're really not. And as you're getting more comfortable with the language, you're going to have days where you feel like it's all been a waste. Okay? You have to kind of accept that as part of the process and know that as you start to do things the right way, as you start to do your spaced repetition, as you do your active recall, as you go through the material, as you build and you build and you build, slowly you're going to start to feel more confident. You're going to slowly start to feel like the things that you do are correct. But this feeling doesn't go away. I've been developing professionally for 10 years now, and there's still things that I feel like I'm about to get exposed on a regular basis. So I just want that to be out there for folks that might be feeling the same way, that you're saying, hey, Leon, I learned some CSS, I learned some HTML, I learned some JavaScript, but I feel like I haven't. I feel like like even though I put in the work, I don't feel like my skills are worthy. They are. You're going to keep working, you're going to keep pushing, you're going to keep building, and you'll slowly start building up that confidence, okay? So don't let the imposter syndrome be the thing that holds you back from continuing on. Keep pushing, keep working, and I promise you, eventually you're going to have a moment where things click. where things just make sense, right? And you're able to start progressing and go on from there. So there was a time where I felt like my CSS was horrible, even though I've been doing it for a while. There was a time where I felt like my JavaScript was horrible, even though I did it for a while. I keep pushing, I keep learning, I keep asking good questions, I keep building off of the base that I have, and eventually it clicks. I promise you it clicks. Okay? Community challenge ended. Class on CSS3 Animations has been raised. Okay, so I learned 2 things from this. One, y'all are awesome. There's a lot of you watching in the channel right now. Y'all are contributing your channel points to these classes, these challenges. So I need to put more of them up, and I need to raise the bar way higher. I need to raise the bar to like, I don't know, 10, 15K or something. But we'll keep it easy for now. So next week, we're going to do a class on CSS3 Animations. Woo! Congratulations, everybody. Thank you for contributing your channel points to the class. So we're going to go ahead and do that class next week. Well done, everybody. I need to record this so I can play it on demand. I think I need to like, I can do like a highlight, and then you can have the highlight for whenever you want. Cross said last class, she said that internships are for people that lack confidence. And I really felt that. Helped me realize how prevalent imposter syndrome is. Yeah. Like there are some internships that are phenomenal, that are fabulous. But most of the time when my newer students are saying, hey, Leon, I don't want to apply for a job, I want to apply for an internship, that tells me right then and there that they're feeling some sort of imposter syndrome and that they don't feel confident or worthy enough to go after a full-time opportunity. If you're writing code, you've gotten through tutorials, you've built a passion project, you have these skills, you're ready for full-time employment. We'll talk about that, though, in another time, too. Denova Stella said, Leon, how do you handle when people actively try to put you down for not knowing something as well as they? Fuck them. I hate those people. It's prevalent in tech. I apologize for my cursing. It's prevalent in tech. There's a lot of gatekeeping in tech. Those people are going to be pretty prevalent. There are ways that I like to mitigate those people. And a lot of the tools that I learned on how to deal with those people come from How to Win Friends and Influence People. So it's a book by Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie was like a true hustler. His last name wasn't Carnegie. He actually changed his last name to Carnegie so he could sell more copies of the book. But the things that I've learned about how to deal with people, especially in a professional setting, have come from that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So when I have people that put me down or make me feel like I don't feel confident in what I know, I have a series of steps that I'm going to follow from that book to engage with them and figure out where that comes from. And so a lot of it is like the big rule I always have in my head is praise publicly, admonish privately. So I'm not going to call them out in the moment. I'm going to pull them to the side privately, say, here's what you said. Here's how it made me feel. Here's why I think this is wrong and why it's not going to help me be an effective team member. If you continue to act this way, you're hurting the team, right? And so all those things that I have, those rules and guidelines I have in my head come from that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So that's a pretty good one. Just going through chat here. My virgin years. The book name is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Yeah. Your boy said, I love the mission of changing people underrepresented in tech. Is there any way to get involved and help more women and people of color in tech? Sure. Join our Discord channel. And if you're already a developer, what it looks like, come help out in Discord. We have a small army of mentors that are in our Discord channel every day, helping people learn how to code. So I would love your presence there. You can do exclamation point Discord in chat. All right. One last question here, and we're going to jump into to the rest of the class. I have ADHD and struggle with comprehension and memory severely, but I'm also a brand new CS major at college. Is there any chance for me to get far? Yes. There are a number of folks that have been able to work around their ADHD to be successful as a software engineer. If you hit me up on Discord, I can share those resources with you of the folks that I know that have it. I'm putting together a Twitter list of the folks to follow on Twitter. There are 2 folks that I know are in that space that have ADHD, so I'm working on that list. People keep asking for it. It's a list I've been putting together. I'll share that soon. So I'll do that. But also hit me up on Discord. I have bipolar disorder. I had to work through a lot of challenges with memory and attention as well because of that, and so I'm happy to share those resources. So hit me up on Discord. All right. Let's jump into some code. All right. Golden rule. Let's get back to it. Hit the basics. Golden rule, separation of concerns. Our content is in our HTML. Our style is in our CSS. Our behavior and interaction is in our JavaScript. And why do we keep these concerns separate in a separate files? Miriam hit it out the park. Organization. Correct. Organization, readability, organization, right? The idea, if we want to come back to our code a week later and we want to make something pink, we know to go to our CSS. If we're working with a team and we want to come back a month later and add some click events, right? Some event listeners, we know to go to our JavaScript. There's no question about where we're going to look to make these changes or where these things will be updated. So if we're agreeing to that separation of concerns, we know that these things will be organized, well separated, and we have the ability to make changes when we want them. Cool. People are just shouting off things from previous class. I love it. K-Coughs. Oh, all right. So K-Coughs said peanut, chocolate, and thin candy wrapping in chat. What was that an example of? What was that an example of? Peanut, chocolate, thin candy wrapping. Anybody remember? If you put that in chat, go ahead and put that in chat if you remember. Woo! Reptar bro, hit it. There you go. Progressive enhancement. Progressive enhancement is this idea that the core of our websites should be HTML, and then that HTML should have a thin chocolatey coating around it that is our style, and then that piece of candy should have a thin outer coating of candy that is our JavaScript. And the reason why progressive enhancement is a good idea is this idea that individuals may not have access or the privilege of high-speed broadband internet access, right? We said there was in 2017 2 million AOL dial-up subscribers, right? In 2017, 2 million. And so because of that, we want to make sure that we're providing the best experience to our users. Cool. That was a funny one. Way to come back with that one. That was digging deep. All right, let's review classes and IDs real quick. Remember that IDs are targeting one element and only one element uniquely. Each element in our HTML can have an ID, but the name that we give that ID cannot be repeated anywhere else in our HTML. This is really important when we get to JavaScript because we're going to target specific elements with our JavaScript via their IDs, right? So we're going to select the ID, and when we select that ID, we are going to then be able to do stuff to it with JavaScript, okay? So IDs become really important. Classes are ways of applying styles or targeting across multiple elements, right? So each element in HTML can have multiple classes, and you can apply those classes to as many elements as you would like. You can target them via JavaScript as well. And so we're going to see that these IDs and classes take on a second life in our JavaScript because it starts enabling us to apply styles via the class. It enables us to start targeting elements by their ID, all in our JavaScript. 132. People are already trying to do the specificity. Nice. Cool. Rav, welcome. Glad to have you. Programming. All right, so let's talk about programming. Let's review. If you're trying to review, let's try to review some of these key topics. We're going to review some of the basics that we talked about last class, and then we're going to start looking at code and getting our hands kind of moving here. So remember, golden rule here when it comes to learning to code and programming is the computer will do what you tell it to do. Okay? Computer will do what you tell it to do. So that leads us to two really important definitions. A program is simply a set of instructions that you write to tell a computer what to do. So if you are writing a program, right, or if you're creating a program, you're really just creating a set of instructions. And we're going to actually talk about these instructions a little bit more deeply because we're moving into functions tonight. So we're going to really start harping on this idea that a program is just a set of instructions that we tell a computer what to do. And so if a program is just a set of instructions, programming, or the act of writing code, is really just writing those instructions, but with one really important caveat. And that important caveat is that we write the instructions in a language that the computer can actually understand or has the ability to understand through some means, right? So set of instructions, programming is writing those instructions that can eventually be understood by the computer. All right. Yeah, sometimes if you have a slower connection, you're going to see all this stuff come out faster. That's part of the reason why we went with affiliate, because hopefully you get some quality options that might improve that for folks. All right, true story. So we're just seeing folks come in. If you want to follow along, you can do ! slides to get the slides for today. If you want the materials, you can do ! Discord. Join our Discord community. Once you agree to all the rules, there's a follow along materials channel where you can get all the materials for today. So go ahead and do that if you would like the materials. All right. Binary upload boom. Yes. I want this to be, that's going to be an emote. Somebody sent me a message on Discord, binary upload boom. That's going to be one of our emotes when we unlock them. All right. So we talked about how Independence Day was a true story. How could Independence Day be a true story? We came up with the brilliant answer in chat last class, binary upload boom. So Jeff Goldblum, he wrote a computer virus that they then injected into the alien mothership. The alien mothership communication system spread out. All of the alien ships, their shields went down, and we nuked them. And this was possible because of the idea that on and off might be a universal constant. And we might represent these on and off values with a system that's very simple, like binary, zeros and ones. And we can build up from this concept of on and off up to simple logic like and not and or. And once we have that simple logic, we can start building up to real computers, right? Or to real computer programs. And so the idea here is that Jeff Goldblum, even though the aliens are using some alien language, he was able to reverse engineer all the way down to those very basic principles of on and off, and then build it all the way back up into a program that could be understood in that alien language, injected it into the mothership, and boom, we nuked them and we saved the Earth. Thanks to Jeff Goldblum and binary upload boom. So it's just an idea here to keep thinking that we're writing programs that a computer can eventually understand, and a computer is really at the core understand some very basic stuff. And the language that we're learning, JavaScript, has to be broken down into something that the computer can understand. A computer doesn't naturally understand JavaScript. It has to be broken down into something that the computer can understand. So that's how Independence Day is a true story. Cross said Jeff Goldblum is the reason we all have imposter syndrome. Yes. At the end of the day, we will all pale in comparison to Jeff Goldblum's coding prowess, but we can't let that keep us down. Nuking the American tradition. Good thing nobody was on the phone when he was uploading the file. Good thing nobody in their family was uploading images while they were trying to stream and tanked the whole stream for the day. Well, you can tell I'm a little hurt by that still. All right, JavaScript. Let's talk about JavaScript, folks. The interesting thing about JavaScript is that it has, oops, sorry, I went the wrong way, is that it has a specific syntax, right? It has some rules that we're going to have to follow, some spelling and grammar. And a lot of last class was just us working through examples. But the point of those examples was to start to get a feel for the syntax, to see how things come together, to understand that there's some basic pieces, that there are going to be ways for us to listen for events via event listeners, that there are going to be ways for us to put things into the DOM, that there are going to be ways for us to get things out of the DOM. There will be ways for us to alert stuff, print things to the console. And so there are all these rules that we have to learn. And so I want you today especially to not worry about so much the details, but getting a feeling still for the language, right? We have all of our time going forward to learn all the nitty gritty details. But for today especially, get comfortable with stuff. Don't worry about the really, really minute details, right? There's so many little things that you're going to have to learn along your pathway. Today is about being exposed to new ideas, letting those ideas start to percolate in your head, and then being able to maybe eventually start building on them as we continue. Cool. All right. Maybe we can have a Jeff Goldblum emote. That'd be cool. All right. What are variables? In chat, tell me what are variables, please. I want to know what a variable is. Can you put that in chat for me, please? What's a variable? Data buckets. Yes. Yes, it holds a value. A bucket that stores a value, yes. An assigned value, a container that holds a value. Yes, these are all true, right? A variable, I like to think about a variable as a bucket. I create a bucket, and then I can put whatever value I want into that bucket. And at any point in time, I can dump that bucket out and use what's inside of it, all right? So when you create a variable, you're creating a space in the computer memory where we can store a value, and then we can retrieve that value later on. It's going to enable us to do some really cool things. We can store a value and then add to it. So maybe we have like the value of 5. We can add a number to that 5. Maybe we can store somebody's name and then say their name later on. Maybe we can store a bunch of other options. And the idea here is that we can just store those values and then use them later on. Okay. You can say things we make up when we're overcomplicating life decisions. Yes. All right. So there's 2 steps when we're talking about variables. We have what's called declaration, and then we have what's called assignment. So let's pretend that we had a space for our memory. So I'm going to call this space our memory here. All right. So there's our memory. This first step here, when we use the variable keyword let, we are declaring a space in memory with that value. So now we have a space in memory called age. With this declaration step, that space, that bucket, does not yet have a value. It's not until we get to the assignment that we put a value into that bucket. Okay? So now that space in memory age has the value of 25. Okay? So we have it as 2 separate steps, but we could also do it at the same time. So here I've declared the variable of age, and I've assigned it the value of 25, both happening at the same time. Okay? There are going to be a lot of times when you declare a variable and you don't know what the value is going to be. Maybe we're going to create a program that asks for the person's age. So we have no idea what that person's age could be. So we're going to declare a variable called age, and we'll assign it later on after we ask our users how old they are. Right? So sometimes you'll do that declaration and assignment separate. Sometimes you'll know. Maybe like in one of our examples, we had to keep a count because we were doing a basic calculator. So we declared the value of total, and we assigned it the value of 0 because we knew that we were going to add or subtract a number, and we knew that already from the beginning. So sometimes you're going to have this declaration and assignment separate, and a lot of times you're going to do them both at the same time. Mary said, that's a very good rectangle. Thank you. The nuns are proud. All right, let's keep pushing, folks. I want to get to reviewing some stuff and then to some new content. When I'm declaring my variables, I like to use camel case. Camel case means that the first letter of each variable name is lowercase, and then every other word is capitalized. So here I have number of apples, number is lowercase, of and apples is capitalized. And this is just one for me. So if I come back later on, I know that I have set all of my variables to camel case, and I don't have to guess how did I use hyphens, did I use spaces, not spaces, did I use hyphens, did I use snake case. I just know I come back to my variables and know that it's camel case. I don't have to guess. I keep camel case across my HTML, my CSS, and my JavaScript, so I never have to guess. Okay. Now you might join a team that does something differently. They might use hyphens. They might use underscores. Folks that come from different back-end programming languages might carry those conventions over to the front end, and you might see those things. One's not right or wrong. It's a personal preference. And know that if you join a team or when you join a team, they might have a different preference than you, and you might have to conform to their style guide, like how they're going to lay out all their code. Yeah, Alpine. Things like this can get really messy. If you work with somebody that doesn't, like, they use camel case one day, hyphens the other, it's really annoying. It's really messy and it's really hard to code around. Cool. All right, so now we have this idea of a variable, something that can hold a value for later on. Just pretend it's a bucket that you can put a value into, and we can carry that bucket around, and whenever we need it, we can dump the thing out of the bucket and use it. Okay. Now, the things that we can put into those variables have what we call different types. We learned about 2 types so far, and so let's kind of break those down. The first type we learned about are strings. Strings are just pieces of text. And in JavaScript, you can have double quotes or single quotes around your pieces of text. They both do the same thing. The only thing that you have to watch out for, right? The only thing you have to watch out for is that whatever quotes you use on the outside, you cannot use on the inside. If you do use the same quotes on the inside as you did on the outside, then you're going to wind up having your string ending early, because it's going to see that open quote, it's going to see the same quote on the inside and count that as a unique string. Then it's going to have what it's going to evaluate as a variable, actually, that's not defined or declared. It's going to throw an error probably, and then another string. So be careful. Whatever you use on the outside, don't use on the inside, unless you do what? What can you do in chat, please, to use the same quotes on the outside as you use on the inside? What can you do, please? Throw it in chat. Ooh, Bugaboo came in first. Yes, you can escape. You can escape, yes. If you escape, what that enables you to do is to have the same quotes on the outside as you have on the inside, and it will work. You do the escaping with the lovely backslashes like that, right? But these don't need to be escaped because they're the same. But yes, with backslashes. The other types of variables that we can use are ints and floats, which are both numbers. So we can have numbers. In JavaScript, we have ints, which are like whole numbers. And we have floats, which are numbers with decimal places. So you can have both in JavaScript. You can also have signed numbers, like positive and negative numbers. Those work fine. We can do arithmetic in JavaScript, of course. We can do addition with a plus sign, which we're going to need later today. Subtraction with a hyphen, multiplication with an asterisk, division with a /. And we have this lovely modulus, which gives us the what? In chat, what does modulus give us, please? Boom, Melissa with it first. Yeah, it gives us the remainder. Wonderful. It gives us the remainder, and that just enables us, right? It gives us the remainder. That enables us to do a lot of cool stuff to get the remainder, but we can also do things like figure out something's even or odd. If we do any number, like if we do like 10 mod 2, we're going to get 0, right? We're going to get 0 because 2 goes into 10 5 times. There's 0 left over. So we know that 10 is divisible by 2. So we know that 10 is an even number. So that's where I use modulus a lot, is to help with even and odd. Cool. Eventually in JavaScript, and remember, we're reviewing all this. If you missed last class and you want to go through this a little bit slower, you can check out the VODs here on Twitch. The last 2 classes are on VODs here on Twitch. All the other classes are on YouTube. I've been having some trouble downloading the previous ones. I'm still missing one, but once that eventually figure out how to get it downloaded, those will all go up on YouTube as well. Cool. So eventually we want to make decisions. Okay. We eventually want to make decisions with our conditional logic, but to make decisions, we need to be able to figure out if things equal other things. Okay. So in JavaScript, we have 2 and 3 equal signs for comparison. 2 equal signs are values in it determines comparison in value. 3 equal signs is value and type. Like, are they both a string? Or are they both a number? So here we have 3 different comparisons. Does 9 equal 9 in both value and type? Yes, that's a true statement. They both have the same number and they're both numbers. Does 7 equal 3 in value and type? No, one is 7, one is 3, so that would evaluate to false. And then the cool thing is in JavaScript, it's pretty flexible. We can do like, does a string equal another string? And so since this is capital hello equal capital hello, that's also going to be true. It can do that type of comparison as well. Not every language does that. All right, here's the dreaded list. Oh no, don't freak out. We're going to go through it together. I asked you to come back to this for homework. It's very confusing the first time you run through it and you start doing these comparisons. You kind of have flashbacks to like 7th grade math class, and it's not great. But let's walk through this together. I know it can be confusing. I know it can be tricky. So let's take a peek together. Redbird said, hey, when would you use this comparison equality in practice? You're going to do it when it comes to conditional logic. So we're going to get there in a second. Yep. Whenever you're trying to compare stuff to see if they're equal or not. All right. So in this case, X is the number 3. Both in value, it's the number 3, and type, it is number. Okay. So does 3 equal X in number? Because when it's 2 equal signs, it's just value. Sorry, just value. So does 3 equal 8 in value? No. 3 does not equal 8 in value. One is 3, one is 8. All right. Now, the tricky thing happens on the next one. Does the number 3 equal string 3 in value? This is the first question. Does number 3 equal string 3 in value? Yes, they're both 3. JavaScript's weird like that. They are both 3. Now, since there's 3 equal signs, also, this is a weird thing. Some people do 3 like this. Like, if you're in the US, you probably do this. 3. But if you're outside the US, you probably do this. This is way easier to represent 3. I don't know why we do this. Does anybody from the US do this in chat? Anybody from the US and do this instead of this? I'm curious. Nope. I don't know why we don't do this. This is so easier. This is so much easier. All right, cool. So does number 3 equal string 3 in type? No. One is a number, one is a string, right? One is a number, one is a string. So this actually evaluates the false, right? This one evaluates the false because it's not equal in type. Okay. Next one. Does number 3 equal number 3 in value? Yes. Does number 3 equal number 3 in type? Yes. They're both numbers, right? They're both numbers. Cool. All right. One more easy one before we get to the doozy. One more easy one until we get to a doozy here. All right. Does 3 not equal? Whenever we see that exclamation point, we call exclamation points bang in programming. So 3 not equal to 8. Does 3 not equal 8 in number? That's true. 3 does not equal 8 in number. Okay. Now, here are the ones that got everyone tripped up and made everyone leave the stream. All right, so let's walk through it again. X is 3, so let's keep that in mind. Now, whenever you see this not, this is the important thing here. You're saying, all right, is 3 not equal to number 3 in both value and type? Like, is it not equal in both value and type? That's true, because the number 3 is not equal in both value and type, because one is a string and one is a number. So it is a true statement that number 3 is not equal to string 3 in both value and type. It differs in type. So that is a true statement. It is not equal in both value and type. Okay. There's only, when you use a bang luck monkey, there's only 2. You don't do 3. Yeah. Because 1 equal sign is value. 2 equal signs would be type when you're using exclamation point, when you're using the bang. Okay. Now, the next one that's confusing here is number 3 not equal to number 3 in value and type. Is number 3 not equal to number 3 in value and type? That is false, because it's not equal. It's not equal in number, and it's not equal in value. They're equal in both value and type. So that's a false statement. It is not. This is so confusing, but I trust you. It makes sense. The more you think through it and you say not, just wherever you see exclamation point, say not. Is number 3 not equal to number 3 in both value and type? That is false. It is equal in both value and type. So that is a false statement. It is not equal, right? They're both value and type. Please excuse me while my head explodes. Don't tell people to leave this time. Thank you, Alyssa. That's my mod in action there, reminding me not to tell people to leave. Durante, I appreciate it. Thank you for the subscription and for helping support resilient coders. All right. The last couple are back to easy. Right? The last couple are back to easy. Is 3 greater than 8? No. 3 is obviously less than 8. Is 3 less than 8? Yes, that is true. Is 3 greater than or equal to 8? No. It's less than. And is 3 less than or equal to 8? Yes, that is true. So we have the ability to do these comparisons in number and type. Let's hold hands, everyone, so no one escapes. All right. I know that's a mind meld. I know that's a lot of mental energy to work through these. So I want to make sure that we all take a break. We've been going for a little over an hour. So we're going to come back to some conditional syntax. But I am going to put a 3-minute timer on the clock. Please go ahead, stretch. Go ahead and stretch. Grab your water. Hydrate. And please come back in 3 minutes. We're going to go into conditionals, and then we're going to start getting our hands going. Go ahead and ask questions if you have questions. I'll be here. But please come back in 3 minutes, and we'll keep going. So please stretch, move around, grab some liquids, kiss your dog, pet your cat. Bugaboo's grabbing some coffee. I love it. Oh, snaps. You're right. 5 minutes. Sorry. Let's refresh this. 5 minutes. Our first break, we're always going to do for 5 minutes. That way, folks that need to pray can pray. So there you go, 5 minutes. Boom. Sorry about that. Will you go over truthy and falsy? Not for today and tomorrow, but when we do the longer form content, we will. Yep, we're giving our Muslim friends a chance to pray, should they need to pray right now. So go ahead and take 5 minutes. We'll be learning about loops on Thursday. So we're going to see a loop today. That concept is going to enter our brain, but we're going to be working on the loops on Thursday. Okay, Kayla, I appreciate the sub. Thank you for the support, and thank you for donating to Resilient Coders. Yeah, so we're going to see a loop today. We're going to put it into our brain as a concept, and on Thursday, we'll put them into practice. Novosos is trying to make me race to the kitchen. Yeah, you got 3 minutes, 54 seconds left. What are the best programmer TV shows to watch? I saw Mr. Robot, good show. And I was thinking about watching Halt and Catch Fire as well. I like Silicon Valley. I think it's pretty funny. It's somewhat accurate. Mr. Robot's one of the most accurate, like, technical shows I've ever seen. So I like Silicon Valley. I like startups. I come from startup world, so that's kind of my background. I thought it was funny. Are we all going to take the in-depth classes to make us career ready, or is it only going to be a select few depending on applications? So it's going to be a large number, but I am going to limit it to that number, just because I want to make sure that I can provide feedback, mentorship, look at your code, review things, be super active with that group. But everything will be live on Twitch, and if it works out well, I'm going to run it again. This kind of blew my expectations in terms of like what streaming could be and the community that we could build. And so I've loved spending time with you all, working through this stuff together. So I definitely want to do more content and have it open to everyone that's here. When you apply for the longer form class, I am going to take into account folks that have been like active in streams. Even if you haven't been talking that much, I still have like the list of people that were here. So I'm going to give preference to folks that have been showing up. I'm going to give preference to folks that have been active to make sure that we're going to keep the community going. So if you're here and I've seen you respond to stuff in chat, you're already in. Like that's a given. Thank you, Alyssa. I appreciate that. We're just taking a break, Miriam, and we'll be back in a minute, 50 seconds. Will you encounter Linux on the job? Yes. Linux powers most of the servers that you'll interact with. If you're using a Mac, you're using like a GNU Linux underpinning or like a Unix-like system. I used Linux professionally, GNU Linux professionally for about 3 years. When folks say, hey, Leon, do I need to go out and buy an expensive new computer to become a web developer? My answer is no. I used a Chromebook professionally for like 2 to 3 years, and that Chromebook just ran GNU Linux on it. So you definitely can run into it. Folks that get into other things like DevOps, of course, we're going to use it more often. Where do I apply for Leon to be my dad? Oh boy, long question. Ignash, I appreciate it. Sophia, I appreciate it. Thank you for the sub. I really appreciate that. Thank you for helping support Resilient Coders. Y'all don't need to sub. I appreciate it, but please, you don't need to sub. If you're saying, hey Leon, I really want to support you today, go follow me on Twitter. But I do appreciate all the support so far. It means a lot. Depends on the company. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up some questions here. Where can I go to get your hairstyle? Genetics. Go to the genetics store. Maybe once CRISPR becomes a thing, you can get there. Did I hear I'm in? Yes, Miss Turner, you would definitely be in. Should we set up a virtual machine with Linux? If you need it for something, sure. Yeah. If you're on Windows, I really like the Linux subsystem. It's just the thing is that when you come across a lot of programming tutorials and things like that, they're going to assume that you have some Unix-like system. Either it's the Ubuntu subsystem for Windows, or you're on a Mac, or you're on a GNU Linux-based PC. So it just definitely makes it easier. I wouldn't say that Macs or GNU Linux machines are better. It's just that a lot of developers prefer them, and so you're going to see a lot of tutorials cater to that. But if you have a Windows PC, you can always put the Ubuntu subshell on it now and be totally fine. Yeah, Rav, all the VODs are here on Twitch until they get deleted with affiliate. I think they stay up for a certain period of time. And then all the classes go on YouTube. So we don't put the office hours on YouTube, but all of the classes go on YouTube. So what is Node? You can think of Node as JavaScript for the backend. So the JavaScript that we're writing today makes it so that we can see stuff and interact with stuff in the browser, right? But eventually we're going to want JavaScript that can process credit card payments, check to see if you're logged in, store stuff into a database. And so that's what Node does. Node handles all of that stuff. Welcome back, folks. Hope you had a good break. Hope you got some water, got the things done you needed to get done. Welcome back. Yeah, Cookie, all the I'm going to turn off the music now. All of my subs and cheers and all that stuff that happened when we unlocked affiliate, all that's going to Resilient Coders. So if anybody subscribes or donates or cheers, that's not going directly to me. I'm going to wait until everything settles, and then that's all going to be donated to Resilient Coders. Caveat, I do work for Resilient Coders, but yeah, that's where it's all going. Cool. Hey, Chaz, good to see you. All right. Now everybody's back. Let's get to it, folks. Let's keep pushing. Last class, we learned a little bit about conditional syntax. What conditionals enable us to do is to make decisions, right? And so here you have a very simple condition. And if the stuff that happens inside these parentheses is true, then we do what is inside of the curly braces. Okay. Alpine says he has a stockpile of 500 Leon points waiting to be unleashed. Oh boy. Nobody's really redeemed any for anything yet. So it'd be cool to see when it starts coming in, except for the class. I was really happy that everybody put their points into the class. That like highlighted like what this community is about, right? Like I love that. That's like the happiest thing that's happened to me in a while. To see everybody threw their points into getting that class started was pretty cool. Micro Leons. All right, I guess we're gonna have to change. The channel points were called lessons learned, but I guess we'll change them to micro Leons. Like that's been a thing that's catching on, or Leon bucks. I'm happy to have like some sort of office reference to Stanley Nichols. All right. I think the ones you were talking about aren't there, Leon. The lowest point is the resume review. Interesting. I'm going to have to, when we take the next break, I'll see if I can change that, because I uploaded a bunch of them. So there should be like 15 or so of them. So we'll see. Miriam's the proud inventor of Micro Leon. Cool. All right. Conditionals. Let's come back. If what happens inside the parentheses is true, we do what's inside of the curly braces. That's it. So let's take a look at some conditionals. Where it gets a little tricky with the conditional syntax in JavaScript is that we have ifs, else if, and else. Okay? If is always the first one. If what is inside those parentheses is true, we do what is inside those curly braces, and then we stop. That's it. That's all that happens. Okay? All right? You stop. That's all it is. All right? If whatever happens inside of this condition to be false, if it's false, then we're going to check what's inside the else if. So if what is in the else if is true, then we'll do the stuff inside those curly braces and then stop. So we'll check the if that's false, we'll do the else if. If the else if is false, you can always include an else if you would like, okay? An else is just a default condition, right? It's what runs if everything else above it was false. You actually don't need an else. You can just put it if you want something default to happen if everything above it was false. The other interesting thing is that you can have as many else ifs as you would like. So you can do if, else if, else if, else if, else if, else if, all the way until kingdom come, and not have an else, or have one if you want. And so you can check a lot of things, okay? So we're going to do some practice where we're going to add to a conditional to add an extra else if. So we're going to go back to the class weekend boring and add an extra condition so that we can see the else if in action. Arasi asks, can you embed another if inside of the parentheses? You can embed another if inside of the curly braces. So put your other if inside the curly braces. So you technically could have another if or a whole if else chain inside those curly braces. Yep. Luck Monkey called it right. They're called nested loops. Oh, nested conditionals. If you're doing it with a loop, it'd be a nested loop. Yeah. Mac OS is a Unix-based system, very similar to GNU Linux. The commands work across both. All right, let's keep pushing. Let's look at an example. So here we have a pizza called Domino's, and then we're going to check in this conditional, right? So does pizza equal Papa John's? Chat. Does pizza ever equal Papa John's on this channel? Hell no. Nope. Never. Nah. Not gonna happen. Get out of here. Alyssa's already warned me once about not telling people to leave. But if you do not prefer Domino's in this chat, you may leave. I'm joking. You're more than welcome here. Just don't tell us. Just keep it to yourself. It's cool. All right. Nobody left. We're good. Sorry, Alyssa. She's already yelling at me. All right. So pizza does not equal Papa John's. So we don't do what's here. We go to the else if. Does pizza equal Domino's? Does pizza equal Domino's? Yes, that is true. So print it to the console would be all aboard the train to Flavortown. And then question. Does this else run? Does that else run? We just got on the train to Flavortown. Does the else run? No, it doesn't run, right? If any if or else if above the else is true, you stop immediately and the else would never run. So in this case, since the else comes after that else if and the else if was true, the else never ran. We stopped at the else if and that's it. If I changed, let's say pizza at the top wasn't I'm not even gonna pretend. It's always gonna be Domino's. Next example. I'm not gonna change it. All right. Boom. All right. Remember, there's a danger afoot. Right? There's a danger to be had here. Inside of these parentheses, what is the danger we could come across? What is the danger that we could come across? Yeah, Alyssa got it right. We could accidentally reassign something. If inside of these parentheses, right? If inside these parentheses we did one equal sign instead of 2 or 3, what we would literally do would be the biggest mistake we've ever made. We would reassign pizza to Papa John's. And we're using a const, so that would have a whole bunch of other worries that we have to worry about, right? So if we just had one equal sign here, that would be an assignment, not a comparison. Remember, when we're inside conditionals, we're doing comparison. Is this equal to something? So to avoid that danger, inside your parentheses of a conditional should always be 2 or 3 equal signs, right? If it's 1, you're going to do that assignment and it's going to cause you some trouble. Everyone does this. At some point in your career, you will do this, and you'll sit there scratching your head for an hour being like, everything looks perfect. I have no idea why this is not working. And then you're going to see that 1 equal sign. And when you see that 1 equal sign, I want you to remember Leon. And remember that I told you that this was going to happen. Remember. And you're going to come back to chat and you're going to say, hey, Leon, it happened. I did it by accident. Okay. Alrighty. Just letting that sink in for a second. I'm gonna remember Curly Locks and Papa John's. No. All right. Remember, we can also have multiple conditions, right? So if your name equals Leon and your status equals Ballin, you wink at the camera. Okay? So if your name is Leon and your status is Ballin, you wink at the camera. So these are multiple conditions. The way we check for multiple conditions that have to be true is with the double ampersand, right? That double ampersand is saying this and this, okay? This and this. If either one of those was not true, which is not, if either one of those was not true, then the wink wouldn't happen, okay? If you're new, welcome. Go ahead and do exclamation point slides for the slides today. And if you want all the materials, all the code that we're about to start coding together, go ahead and do exclamation point Discord. That'll get you to our Discord community. Once you sign up and agree to the rules, there will be this follow along materials channel where you can grab the zip with all the starter code from today. Ghost, you're cool. Don't worry about it. Leon Chow said, Leon, can you run that code for me? Absolutely. There you go, Chows. Multiple conditions. Remember, we can have not just and, but we can also have or. So if day equals Saturday or day equals Sunday, then we know it's the weekend, right? And we can do what's inside the curly braces. So you can have and, you can have or, and you can actually combine all of these into really long chains if you want it to inside the parentheses. So you could say like, is age equal to this? And is name equal to this? Or is name equal to this and name and age equal to that, right? So you can have like these really great combinations of the and or. So just keep that in mind. You'll eventually see them. All right. Let's keep pushing. All right. Let's go back and in the materials for today, don't use the one from last class. Use the one from today. I want to revisit class weekend or boring day. Okay. Class weekend or boring day. So let's go ahead and open up that code. I'm going to go ahead and open it here in Atom. All right. So let's walk through this again so that folks, if you're joining us, if you want the materials, exclamation point Discord, join our Discord, agree to the rules, and then the follow along materials channel, you can grab the zip code. So here is the code from last class. Let's walk through it one more time. And then we're gonna modify. We're gonna add to it. All right. Let's take a look at the HTML first, actually. So in the HTML, we have a couple key things. We have an input where our users are going to enter the day. And we have a button that they're going to click once they're done entering the day. And then they have a place where we want to put the result. Do we have class? Is it a weekend or is it a boring day? Right? So we want to eventually put it back into the DOM, and that's the place we're going to put it. Okay? Now, we have some JavaScript that enables that to do it. If we know the user is going to click on something, what do we know that we need? Chat. What do we know that we need if somebody's going to click on something? An event listener, exactly. So here is our event listener. What we're saying with this event listener is, hey, in the browser, find this thing. In the DOM, find this thing. Remember, the DOM is the rendering of all of our HTML and CSS. We write our HTML, our CSS. The browser reads it, and it paints this render. So we're saying, hey, in that rendering, find the button that has the ID of check. Put a Smurf on it. Put a Smurf on that button. What that Smurf is going to do is that Smurf is going to stand there and listen for a click. Whenever that Smurf sees the click happen, they're like, oh no, and boom, you hit the click. That Smurf is going to run or yell out to run the function check. Okay? It's going to say, hey, run that check. Run that function check. Run those sets of instructions called check. Okay? So we've selected the button from the DOM, that rendering of the HTML and CSS. We've put a Smurf on it that's listening for a click. And when the Smurf hears the click, it tells it to run that function check. Here is our function check. Remember, functions are just sets of instructions. We're going to go into deeper today what functions really are, but just a set of instructions. And the very first thing we do inside of this function is we look at the input. Remember, the input had that ID of day. We look at that input and we grab the value out of it. So whatever they entered into that input is now going to be stored in the variable day. So if they put in Monday, Monday is now stored in day. If they put in Batman, Batman is now stored in day. Remember, we declared the variable day and we assigned it the value of whatever was inside that input. Ms. Turner asked a great question. Why is this not on click? We could have done an on click. But we have this lovely, we call it a method now called add event listener. The reason why add event listener is so popular is because it can handle any event. It can handle clicks, double clicks, mouse enters, mouse leaves. So if you learn this one pattern, you can use it for any event that you might want your Smurf to listen for in the future. Bugaboo, I mean like hit enter on the form. Yes, that is an event. It's called a submit event, but we're going to have to do some extra special stuff to stop the page from refreshing if we did a submit event. Cool. Alrighty, let's keep going. Now we have our conditional. What we're going to check is we're going to say, hey, was the day that the user entered, was it Tuesday or Thursday? Because if it was, what we're doing is we're printing to the console that we have class. But if that's not true, we go to the else if. Was the day Saturday or Sunday? Because if that's true, we're going to print to the console it's a weekend. And if none of those were true, if it wasn't Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or Sunday, we're going to print to the console boring. Okay? Now, there's two things here that I want to modify. I don't want this printing to the console. For those that are new, the console is built into the browser. So if we open this in the browser and we right click inspect, here's the console. This is where our stuff's going to show up right now. So if I do, I'm going to make this bigger, 1 second, Tuesday, and I hit check, you can see here that we have class shows up in the console. Okay. We want to modify this. All right. We want to modify this. I don't want this going into the console anymore. I want the result to go into this H2 that has the ID placed to C. So remember, you're going to need to use something like inner text or inner HTML to put it back in there. Okay. So that's the first modification I want you to make. I don't want it going into the console anymore. I want it going into the DOM. And then I want to add one other thing. I want you to check to see if it's hump day, if it's Wednesday, like if it's at the middle of the week. So if it's Tuesday or Thursday, I want you to say we have class. If it's Saturday or Sunday, I want you to say it's the weekend. But if it's Wednesday, I want you to say we're halfway to the weekend. And if it's not Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, or Wednesday, then we can still alert boring. Print into the DOM, put into the DOM boring. Okay. So the inner text is something we saw last class. So all it is you're going to select the thing you want to change, right? Just like we do here. Just like we select document.query selector. And then instead of it being dot value, it'll be dot inner text. And then you can set it to whatever you want. Okay? So that's inner text. It just enables you to select something that's in the DOM, like a specific place you want to put something, and then put something into it. All right. So what I want you to do is to make those two modifications, going into the DOM and adding a Wednesday check. And all you need to do is to modify the code that's here. Don't add anything extra. Miriam said, what's the difference between inner text and inner HTML? Inner text just does text. Inner HTML can handle anything. Like you can put like DOM elements. Like you can put like a paragraph or like a whole section into something with inner HTML, whereas inner text is just text. All right, let's put a what are we feeling like? I feel like we might be able to get this one quick. So let's do 3 minutes on the timer here. Go ahead and take 3 minutes to make those two changes, adding a Wednesday check and putting stuff into the DOM. Boom, 3 minutes. Let's go. Going to put on some music. If you get stuck, ask questions here. If you're new, exclamation point slides in the chat will give you the slides. Exclamation point Discord will give you our Discord, where you can get all the materials from today. You just got to sign up, agree to all the rules. Once you agree to the rules, there'll be a follow along materials channel. Go ahead and grab the materials from there. Give everybody 2 minutes, 30 seconds left. If you're new and following along, go ahead and give a follow just so more folks can see and join the free bootcamp. If you have questions or you're getting stuck, put them in the chat and we'll come back in 2 minutes. If you finish, go ahead and put done or finished in the chat for us so I can see folks are finishing up. Don't worry, this is 3 minutes. That's a short period of time. Today I am once again sipping Kirkland's finest diet green tea. Ooh, Diabolical coming in first. Ches Please finished as well. Some new folks coming in. I don't know. We got some new folks finishing before the old folks. I don't know how I feel about that, huh? And then here come the wall of dones. Awesome. Straw Hat Fleet said, hey, I'm learning Python. Do you think I should learn JavaScript alongside it? Completely depends on your goals. I like to think of different languages as different tools in your tool belt. You can use them to solve different challenges. The reason why a lot of folks learn JavaScript first is because it's often the quickest way to a job. You learn one language, and full stack JavaScript is super in demand. And so if you're talking about like quickest path to employed, I often feel like that is JavaScript. It is. Helped hundreds of students get jobs, and it's just way easier with JavaScript. Gotta get the kombucha. Nice. Welcome back. Welcome back. All right. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. All right. A lot of people finishing up. Well done, everyone. This is great. We're going to go over it in just, 17 seconds. Done, but we'll have you do it later. Yeah, of course. Always come back and do it. And Durante coming in. Nice. Yeah, I'll find I agree. Working as a group makes it a little bit more tenable, right? Yeah. It's good to see people struggle. Some people get it done. Some people don't. Like it helps see that we're all human. Learning alone, it can be quite difficult. All right. So let's go ahead and first I want to add the Wednesday check. So if I'm adding the Wednesday check, what do I need an extra of, chat? What do I need to put in here if I'm checking for Wednesday? Yeah, Sophia got it. I'm going to need another else if. So after this else if here, I am going to do else if. Whoop. Sorry, I like to open and close it at the same time and then break it. There we go. So I need another else if. Let me turn off the music here. Thank you, Sophia. So I have another else if, and I'm going to check here for if day equals Wednesday. Is that how you spell Wednesday? What? And then for now, let's keep a console log. And we're going to go ahead and say it's halfway to the weekend. Yeah. Cool. All right, so now it should check for a Wednesday. Let's go ahead and save this. Let's go back. Let me make this a little bit bigger so we can see. I don't want to make that bigger. Oh, great. Now, of course, it makes that one bigger. All right, I want to make that one bigger, and then I want to make this one smaller. There we go. All right, let's clear this. All right, so let's go ahead and put it in Wednesday now. Or actually, let's refresh and do Tuesday just to make sure everything's still working. Cool. And then, so we see that it has you have class. So we know it's still working. Let's do Wednesday. Wednesday. Check. It's halfway to the weekend. Cool. There we go. So we know it's working. Move my head out the way. Halfway to the weekend. Cool. So now we know that the Wednesday check is working. I want to add one other interesting thing here. And that's that what if they use a capital letter? Right, let's go back and try a capital letter. Let's change this to capital Wednesday and check. It doesn't work. We get boring, right? And so what I want to do is make sure that if somebody enters an uppercase letter, it doesn't throw all this off, right? So we have this wonderful thing called to lowercase. We also have to uppercase. To lowercase. All right. What that's going to do is it's whatever they put in, right? Whatever they put in, it's going to shift it down to be all lowercase letters. So if they do uppercase W, doesn't matter. Boom, lowercase W, and it will match our Wednesday. There's also the opposite, which does to uppercase, right? So it kind of can go both ways here. Since we already have everything as lowercase, we're going to do to lowercase. Let's go back. Remember, once we save, we have to refresh. A lot of folks kind of were getting frustrated over the weekend. They're like, Leon, my stuff's not working. And then I magically look at it and tell them to refresh, and it started working again. So remember, refresh, or else you're not going to see the changes. Now let's do Wednesday. That's the only way I can remember how to spell this. And then click check. And boom, now it's working. Halfway to the weekend. Even with a capital letter, if I make this a lowercase letter, still going to work. Boom. All right, so it's working. You see that we have two now instead of the one. Yeah, Neo, welcome. Neo Viper, welcome. All right, let's go ahead and keep pushing. We had to do one other thing here, and that other thing was adding this to the DOM, right? So instead of doing these console logs, what did y'all do? How did you get this showing up in the browser? K-Cost, those curly braces are always going to get you. What can we do to get this showing up in the browser and not in the console? What did y'all use? Somebody throw it in chat. Yeah, I like that. The document.query selector, so let's go ahead and do that. And in fact, I'm going to do it for all of them. So I'm going to hold down Command and then get all these REPLs going at the same time and do document.query selector And the ID was, what was the ID? The ID was place to see. So remember Octothorpe and then place to see. Place to see. And then you're going to close it. And then it's going to be let's do inner text. And we're going to set that equal to this string here. And we're going to pull off the parenthesis. And this one I have to pull off here because it was on a different line. Cool. So that was the text editor to the rescue, quick edit. But the idea here is just to do quick document query selector, place to see, dot inner text. I use my dev magic, right, to make that happen. But you could have done it individually on each line if you want it. Remember, if you're using a text editor, typically you can hold down Command or Control, and wherever you click will give you those repls, and then you can start typing. Cool. Let's go back and save it. Sorry, I already saved it. Let me refresh it. And now let's go ahead and let's put in Tuesday. And click check. And there we go. You have class in big, bright red letters. You now no longer have an excuse to not know when class is. You can always use this checker. If it's Tuesday or Thursday, you know you have class. It's going into the DOM. Can you add multiple event listeners by clicking and hitting enter? You could, yeah. So we did use the H2 here. We could have done, we'd used the ID that was on the H2. So I guess you mean, could we have just done query selector H2? Yeah, because there's no other H2s here in the DOM. The cool thing about using the ID instead of the H2 is that if there are other H2s that open up, we're not placing it all into those, you know, I'm not accidentally placing it into one of those. Cool. Diabolical also created a function for query selector so they don't have to keep doing it. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Luck Monkey, can you go back to the JS? Absolutely. And as always, I will always zip up all the stuff we work on and put it in the follow along material channels after class. So all the work we did from last time, I zipped up and put it in, and you can get the same from today as well. Cool. There's no other questions. Let's keep on moving. We kind of saw most of this already, so just kind of warming our fingers back up. I asked folks to redo everything over the weekend for homework, so I'm hoping you had a chance to maybe explore this a little bit more again, so hopefully this isn't kind of all just fresh. All right, let's keep pushing. We did the Angry Parent Simulator. We're at 2 hours. I just want to look at this really quickly, and then we're going to move on. I'm not going to modify this one because I want to make sure we hit all the other stuff we need to get to today. So I'm going to close this other one. I'm going to open up the Angry Parent Simulator just because it was cool, and I want to see it again. So here's our Angry Parent Simulator. Let's go and open this in the browser. We could put in a first name, Bob. We had a baby. It's a boy. Cool. There you go. So if we go ahead and if we put all these in, let me make this a little bit bigger so we can see. And then I click on yell. We're going to see Bob, we had a baby. It's a boy in big, bold red letters because we messed up. And the cool thing is that we actually added it so it could talk to us. I disabled that for now. Let's go ahead and look at the code. And the important thing here that was in this one that I really wanted folks to see was the concatenation. What does concatenation mean? What does it mean to concatenate? Somebody throw that in chat for me. Is wondering if there's a reason for an ID instead of a class. An ID is just more specific. Miriam has 504 micro Leons. Nice. Yeah, it puts it together. It combines stuff, particularly strings. So here is the old school way. Let me uncomment this. Here is the old school way of adding all these strings together. So I would have grabbed the value out of each of those inputs, the Bob, we had a baby, it's a boy, from each of those inputs. And then if I wanted to, I could add them all together into one string by concatenating, but I would have to put in like these spaces for each one and all these plus signs. So this is the old way of doing concatenation. I feel like I'm like a radio show, like Concatenation, like it's the nation of Concatenation. All right, anyway, dad jokes. And then here's the new way, all right? Here is the new way. The new way is called template strings, and we open with a tick and we close with a tick. And then each of our variables can be wrapped in this really cool syntax of bling. Remember, we call $ bling, curly brace open, curly brace close. And then it kind of keeps all the white space, and I don't have to do all this plus signs or anything like that. And so this is just a really neat way of doing all the string concatenation. These are called template strings. So I showed you both ways here. And so the idea here is that they click on the yellow button, it pulls all the values out of the inputs, puts them into a string, and then that string can go into the DOM, right? Cool. Straw Hat said, what's the best JavaScript IDE? If you're talking about an IDE, like an actual IDE, I think like one of the most popular is WebStorm. For like a text editor, VS Code and Atom are really popular. I like to use Atom. A lot of developers like VS Code. Leon Nation, nice. A-OK said, I miss the radio sometimes. Yeah, I miss the radio too. Kato says, what's a radio? Oh, it shows like the cheers next to your name. That's cool, K-Doge. All right. So I just wanted to review that real quick just so we can see that concatenation in action. And so let's kind of move on from this. We already did this before. What about Sublime Text? I used to use Sublime Text until I started using Atom. Sublime Text is like often like pretty fast, and I know a lot of developers still use it. I just like the plugins and support of Atom a little bit better. Close both of these. All right. Let's talk about pseudocode. Okay. Pseudocode is a really important concept when it comes to being a developer. What pseudocode is thinking through your programs. Remember, programs are just sets of instructions. It's thinking through those sets of instructions so that you can think through your program without worrying about syntax. So you're going to use the language of your choice, just like English, right? You're going to think through in plain English, if that's your native language, right? In plain English, what you want your program to do. You're not going to worry about the syntax of JavaScript. You're not going to use the parentheses or the curly braces. You're just going to write out step by step what you want your program to do. I do this for pretty much all the serious code that I write. I used to physically like type everything out, and then those sets of instructions, right? Those set of instructions used to be like my comments. Now I just talk them out loud to my duck. And often just talking through the pseudocode to my duck helps me figure out how I'm going to solve problems, how I'm going to approach problems, and it really helps me start thinking like a developer. So as I start to give you new challenges, I want you to think through those challenges and the instructions that you're going to do, the instructions that you're eventually going to write. Think through those in the plain language. Don't worry about JavaScript syntax. I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do this, right? Really important concept to think through your code, right? Think through your code before you start typing things out. And we call that pseudocode. Okay? So the lab that I'm going to have you all work on, I'm going to put we're going to put 7 minutes on the clock here. This is going to be a long one. We're going to put 7 minutes on the clock here. I want you to create a temperature converter. The idea would be that a user could enter a value and then have that value be converted to Fahrenheit. So let's say they enter in a Celsius value, and that Celsius value should turn into a Fahrenheit value. You can put it in the console, you can alert it, you can do whatever you want with it. But what we want to do is we want to take a Celsius value and turn it into a Fahrenheit value. So you have all the tools that you need to do this. All the code from last class and all the things that we've already seen are going to prepare you to do this. Okay? So let's talk through the pseudocode for how we're going to write our temperature converter. In chat, what does this program need to do? Go ahead. Just share things that we know this program is going to need to do. Don't worry about JavaScript syntax. What is this? If we're going to make a temperature converter, what is this? What are the steps we're going to need to do? What are some things that it's going to need to do? Yeah, Luckman got one. We're going to need to know the initial temperature. 808 said we're going to need to convert it. Yeah. We're going to... I'm seeing some people throw stuff in the chat, right? We're going to eventually need to put that value back into the DOM or wherever we want to store it or place it, right? So I think we hit the big three here. We're going to need to get a value out of an input. Great. We already saw how to do that today. We're going to need to know how to convert that value. So you're just going to do a simple reassignment here with the conversion math plugged in. And then after you've done the math, whatever that result is, you're going to put that into the DOM or console log it. So we know we're probably going to need to declare a variable. We're going to get a value out of the an input. We're going to do some math to that value, and we're going to put that value back into the DOM. So mcode 903 got it. Value of an input, convert the value, put it in the DOM. So if we're talking about our pseudocode, those are the three steps that we're really concerned about. Getting the value out of the input, converting it, and then putting it back into the DOM. One trick here that you might want to keep in mind is that if you're taking a number out of an input, it might actually be a string. So you might need parse int or parse float to take the value out of that string. So I know this is a tricky one. Look through our example code from today and from last class. I'm going to give you, let's put 6 minutes here on the clock, and I'm going to ask you to work on this. If you can't get the whole thing, that's okay. Get the parts that you can get going. I'm not ready for this. Yeah, that's all right. Don't let it be overwhelming. Write your pseudocode first. This is it feels overwhelming. It feels overwhelming. I understand that. All right. It feels overwhelming. Don't let that get to you. Do the things you know how to do. Everyone in this chat right now can write pseudocode. I'm not even asking you to write JavaScript if you can't write JavaScript. Write your pseudocode. What do you want your program to do? I want it to get a value out of an input. I want to convert that value and I want to put it back in the DOM. Start with your pseudocode. Everyone here right now can write pseudocode. The JavaScript syntax can come after. Everyone here can definitely write pseudocode. So start with your pseudocode. Then try to turn your pseudocode into actual code, and you have 5 minutes to try and get it working. We got to shake the jitters here together, folks. I know when you get these problems and it's the first time you've really had to solve something on your own. Remember, we talked about imposter syndrome at the beginning of class. Don't let imposter syndrome get you, right? Don't let it get you right now. Start with your pseudocode, go confidently into the assignment, and keep working. I'm going to put some music on. If you have questions, go ahead and ask questions. Yugen, it was great having you, Fox. Hopefully see you on Thursday. Yep, the VODs will be up, so go ahead and check the VODs. We're still trying to work on the YouTube bug. And then when we're done, we're going to review it together, and we're going to take a break. If you're new and just following along now, you can do !slides in chat. That'll get you the slides that we're using today. If you want to follow along with the materials, if you do ! Discord, that'll get you access to our Discord. Go ahead and register, agree to the rules, and then you'll have access to all the channels. One of those channels is a follow along materials channel that'll give you all the starter code that we're using today. If you have questions while you're working on it, go ahead and throw questions in chat. It's okay. If you're new, we're working on a temperature converter. I want folks to be able to build a converter that takes a value in Celsius and turns it into Fahrenheit. Miss Turner said, not even imposter syndrome, just hungry children. Oh no. All right, I'll see you later, Miss Turner. Hope things go well. Hit me up on Discord if you need help. Got 3 minutes, folks. 3 minutes to build the most beautiful temperature converter you've ever built in your life. You can do this. I believe in you, Alpine. I believe in everybody else here too. Like I said, this is the first time you're being asked to code something from scratch. That's going to feel overwhelming. The imposter syndrome is going to creep in. Don't let it. Be productive. Get your pseudocode done. And then start pushing from there. Ms. Turner, glad to have you listening. If anybody has questions, go ahead and ask questions. If you somehow pull this off and are able to finish in the short 6 minutes I gave you, go ahead and throw done in chat. I know it's a hard one to get done in 10. I want to be able to give folks some time. And then we'll go over it together, and then we're actually going to take another break. Because I know this is some hard work here, folks. You're burning your brain cycles late at night after a hard day. I appreciate you all being here and learning with us. This will be by default the best temperature converter you've ever built. Exactly. That's the gotcha. It's definitely gonna be the best. Anybody that writes a single character has just contributed code to the best temperature converter they've ever made. Not sure about the best way to write this, but I feel so much more comfortable writing code now. That's awesome. Glad you feel more comfortable. That's the point. Like I said, it's not about knowing the syntax. It's not about knowing everything. It's about kind of getting comfortable with everything, having it get into your brain space, start being able to digest it, and we can worry about all the perfect aspects of the syntax as we go forward. Yeah, that's Simba. All right, folks. 35 seconds. Dig deep. Give it your all. Come across the finish line strong. Folks. Maybe you're dealing with a string and not a number. That could be it. All right, folks, come on back. Come on back. All right, come on back. Come on back. Let's do this together. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a template from the starter code today. Well, we actually have a temperature converter template. I'm just going to open up that temperature converter template. It should be kind of empty. And let's go ahead and use that. All right. So in our HTML, I want an input for somebody to enter a value into. So I'm just going to do an input. If I was doing this for realsies, I'd of course wrap it in a form. And I'm just going to give this input an ID just to make my life a little easier. I'm going to call this ID. Let's just call this, let's call it temp. So that's where they're going to enter the temperature. And then I'm going to have a button that they're going to click to convert. And I'm going to give this the ID of convert. So we'll do convert. Convert. And then I was going to put convert here. Cool. All right. So I just have some really simple HTML here. An input with the ID of temp. An input with the ID of temp. And a button with the ID of convert. And let me actually put a place in the DOM for this to go. So let's put an H1 here with the ID of result. Cool. So I have the input that the users are going to put the value into. I have a button they're going to click, and I have a place to put stuff back into the DOM. Okay. So as soon as I know that the user can click on something, what do I need? Yeah, I'm just converting it one way. If you want to convert it both ways, extra credit. If I want to take a Celsius value and convert it to Fahrenheit. All right. If the user can click, right? If the user can click, what do I know I need in my JavaScript? Boom. Redbird got it. Kayla got it. Alyssa got it. Yeah, we're going to need an event listener. So I'm going to go over to my JavaScript. And you all wrote your pseudocode. I'm going to get right to the code tonight. So I'm going to write my event listener. Document. Dot query selector. And I'm going to select the button that had the ID of convert. All right, so it's the button that had the ID of convert. And I'm going to put my Smurf on it. The way I put my Smurf on it was my add event listener. And the event I'm going to worry about tonight is click. And I'm going to have a function called convert that. There we go. I'll make this a little bit smaller over here on the left-hand side. All right. So here we go. Here's my event listener. Hopefully, what this will do is that it will listen for a click on convert and then run a function called convert that. So let me also go ahead and put my function here. Function, convert that. And I'm just going to put an alert in here that says works. Let's make sure this works first. Works. Cool. Let's save it. And then let's go ahead and make sure this actually works. Let's make sure when we click our button, we see that alert pop up. If not, we got to come back and do some debugging. So I'm going to go to my HTML. I'm going to save it, and then I am going to open it in the browser. So I'm just going to click this button real quick. Boom. We have an alert that says works. So we know that our Smurf is doing their job. When we clicked on that button, we heard the alert. So the first thing I want to do is let's see if we can get the value out of the input when we click convert. Okay, let's see if we can get that value out, because we're going to do it in steps. We know we need the value, then we need to convert it, and then we need to put the value in the DOM. Those were our 3 pseudocode steps. So let's do those step by step. Let's make sure we can get the value out, test if we can convert it, and then put it back into the DOM. Okay. So let's go ahead and get the value out of the DOM. So we're going to set up a variable just to hold the value, and I'm going to call it degree, right? Because remember, it's going to be a Celsius value, right? A Celsius value in degrees. So we're going to do const degree, and we're going to say document dot query selector, and inside of here we're going to target the input. So that input had the ID of temp, and we want the value out of it. So let's do the value. Okay. So we're going to get the value that's out of that input. Okay. And now that value should be stored in degree. So let's go ahead and console log. Shortcut is if you just do log and then hit tab, it gives you the console log. And let's console log, well, we don't need quotes because we want it to be a variable, degree. All right, we're going to console log degree. So now let's take this step and see if it works. You're going to notice a pattern here, folks. I don't code it all out and then hope that it magically works. Every step that, especially in the beginning, when you're first starting out, you want to do this. Every step, you build, you test, you build, you test, you build, your test. Does it take a little bit longer? Heck yes. But do you spot bugs earlier? Yes. As you get more proficient, you build up your confidence, you can go for longer spans. But you're going to see me early on when we're first doing our first kind of basic ones together. I'm going to test everything to make sure it's still working. So let's go ahead and see if we're grabbing the value and putting it into the console now. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to open up my console by right-click, inspect. And then I'm going to go to the console. Cool. So we have it open. So let's go ahead and put a value in here. Let's go ahead and put, let's put in, what's a good Celsius value? If we do 100, it should be 212, right? Yeah. So let's put 100 in here, click convert. We still have works. Wait a minute. Why are we still getting works and it's not doing the other stuff that we told it to do? Why am I still getting works? Oh, people are paying attention. Yes, I didn't refresh. So let's go ahead and refresh. I like to do Command R to refresh, so it's refreshed. And let's do 100 again. Click convert. There we go. So cool. We're getting the value out of that input, and right now we're putting it in the console. All right. All right, we're getting the value out of the input and putting it into the console. So we know that our first step is working. We're able to get that value and put it into the console. Now, let's go ahead and do the math. Let's do, instead of this being a const, let's do a let, because we're gonna change this value. So let's do degree equals, and what's the math for the conversion? Anyone have the math for me in chat real quick? The conversion math here. Nobody has the conversion math in chat for me? I thought somebody, there we go. Thank you. All right, so degree equals degree. We're going to multiply it by 1.8. That's 9 divided by 5, I guess. And then we're going to add 32. So that's the formula that I saw in chat. And then we're going to console log it. So let's save this. Let's see if this is working. Let's put 100. And if it works, we should get 212. Boom. 212. It worked. It worked. All right, let's go back. And now instead of it being console logged, we said the last step would be to put it into fixing those freedom units. Yeah. Putting it into the DOM. So we're going to do document .query selector, and we're going to select. I think the ID we gave it was, what was the ID? Result, right? Result. And we're going to put text inside of it. And we're going to put degree inside there. So what's happening here? Let's make sure it works. And we're going to come back and we'll go through each line together. So let's make sure it works. Let's go ahead and save this. We can tell that it's not saved because the blue dot is still at the top. So let's save it. Let's go back to the browser. Let's refresh. If we put in 100, we should get 212. Woo, look at it go. And if we put in 0, we should get 32. Those are the only ones I know. Boom, there we go. So both 0 and 100 are working. So we know that the conversion is happening. We got the value out of the input. We converted it from Celsius to Fahrenheit, and we put the Fahrenheit value back into the DOM. Let's look through the code. All right, in our HTML, we have 3 key pieces. The first piece inside the HTML is that we had the input. That's where the user is going to put the value. Notice it has the ID of temp. Then we have a button that we can click to convert the value. Right, so we're going to click that. And it's going to fire off everything we want to do. And then we have an H1 with the idea of result where we want to put the value in the end. Okay. Input for the value, button to trigger everything and make it run. And then the H1 is where we're going to put the value in the end. Okay. Let's take a look at our JavaScript. The first thing we know is that the user is going to click on that button to make all this stuff happen. So the very first thing we need is our event listener. Here we're selecting that button that the user is going to click. And we're saying, hey, whenever they click on that button, run this set of instructions called convert that. So whenever they click on the button, run these set of instructions. Here are the set of instructions, right? Here are the set of instructions, okay? The very first instruction that we do, right? The very first instruction that we do is that we are going to go ahead and get the value out of the input. Remember, this document.querySelector temp, right? That is the input, and we're grabbing the value out of the input. That value is whatever was inside of that input. Okay, let me turn off the music. Right? Whatever was inside that input, we grab it out with the value, and we have stored it in the variable degree. So now degree is holding whatever was inside that input. Then what we say is, hey, whatever was inside that input, times it by 1.8 and add 32 to it. And this is called reassignment. We're reassigning degree to be the result of all that math. This is really confusing because we're using the value and reassigning the value at the same time. So remember, you do the right-hand side first, and then we're going to update the value. We're going to update that space in memory to have the new value. So degree in our first case was 100. So we did 100 times 1.8 plus 32. And so now degree is equal to 212, right? And then what we do is we put that 212, right? We put that 212 into the DOM. So into that H2 that has the idea of result, we put inside of it some text, and there we go. Okay. All right. Some questions in the chat. Why didn't we need the parseInt? So this input did not give us a string. It gave us an actual number to work with. If we were pulling stuff out of the DOM, we would definitely be dealing with a string. Cool. Your reassignment doesn't seem to be working. Make sure it's a let and not a const. Make sure that you use the equal sign correctly. How could we make it the output only an integer and not a float? If you did parseInt, it'll pull the integer value out of it. So if it's a float, you do parseInt, and it'll give you the integer value. Cool. Where is the dot value in your HTML? The dot value is not in the HTML. The dot value is coming. The dot value is we call it a method, right? All it is the dot value enables you to pull the value out of the input. So the value is actually part of JavaScript, not HTML. So this temp was the input, right? The temp was the input. And then we're grabbing the value that was in that input. So if we put 100, it's going to grab 100. If we put 0, it's going to grab 0. So it follows BEMDAS which is, so like if you're trying to figure out order of operations in JavaScript, it follows BEMDAS, which is kind of like PEMDAS, but it includes brackets, exponents, and parentheses in that as well. So yeah, so it's still like the order of operations that we learned in school. Yeah, so it's almost exactly like the order of operations you learn in school, except it includes some special characters as well. Can I show the HTML? Absolutely. Here you go. I have an input, I have a button, I have an H1. And like I said, always, I'm going to zip all this up and it'll be in the follow along materials channel after class. All right. Now, I know this was difficult. For a lot of you, this might be your first time writing a program from scratch on your own. So don't feel down if you didn't solve it in just 6 minutes. It's a very short period of time. I wanted to give folks a few times to get the wheels churning and then go through it together. So don't worry if you didn't hit it in the 6 minutes. That's totally okay. Don't worry if you felt a little uneasy trying to jump into it. Remember, start with your pseudocode. Let your pseudocode inform the actual JavaScript you're going to write, and do that for all the things that you start. Cool. All right. It's 2:17. Let's go ahead and take a break right now. We're going to take a shorter break this time. Let's do a 3-minute break. Grab water, stretch, do what you need to do, and then we're going to come back and we're going to keep moving into some very fun exercises. So go ahead and take a 3-minute break. Grab water, stretch. Remember, keep yourself healthy. We're in this for the long haul here, folks. You're burning brain cycles here with me late at the end of the day. So go ahead and take a good break. You deserve it. You all built a temperature converter, or got on your way to building a temperature converter, and it's the best temperature converter you've ever built. If you're new and you want to follow along, ! Slides will get you the slides for today. ! Discord will bring you to our Discord community, where you can go ahead and go to our Discord community where you can go ahead and get access to all the materials that you're going to need for today, all the starter code, things like that. You just got to agree to the rules, and then you'll get access to the follow along materials channel. Once you get access to that channel, you'll be able to get all the materials that we're using today. It's just a zip. Muhammad said, go back to the JS code. Absolutely. There you go. There's the JS. If you have questions while we're taking a break, go ahead and feel free to ask questions. I'll take a peek at them in chat. But please stretch. Please grab some water. Dragon Fighter, you're welcome. Hey, Leon, is this the only bootcamp you'll do? Absolutely not. We're gearing up for a really big bootcamp. I'm going to run a bootcamp, 2 that I have on the horizon. One is a JavaScript bootcamp that's going to help folks kind of get up to speed with everything they need to know for client-side JavaScript. And then I'm working on a really long-form class that's going to help folks go from 0 to employable. And I'm going to take a large number of individuals that are going to go through that bootcamp with me. And so I'll be announcing all of that on Thursday, which is our last class of this run. And then we're going to take a week so I can build out a bunch of materials, and then we'll be back. Actually, next week we're going to have one class, which will be the CSS animation class that you all used your channel points for today. So that's cool. Don't worry about the parse hint, Luck Monkey. It's kind of for when we're pulling stuff from the DOM and things like that. Don't worry about that for right now. You know how there's a placeholder for inputs? Does a placeholder exist for H2? You could just put content inside the H2 and it would be there, right? Can you use JavaScript to automate tasks, or is Python better for that? You can use JavaScript for some of that stuff, but Python is definitely the tool of choice for me, at least, for automating like things that like daily tasks that I would do across my computer. I'll definitely probably use Python for that instead of JavaScript. Remember, different languages are different tools that you can use. And so, yeah, I would probably use Python for like automating stuff across my computer. Hey Leon, all your classes will use the same Discord server? Absolutely, yeah. So everything will be in that Discord server. And then folks that get accepted into the next bootcamp, they have like a private channel where I answer all their questions and stuff. But the other one's good too. In the public channels, you have tons of mentors that are there to help. I poke into those all the time as well to help. So we have both. Are you planning on having these classes similar schedule to this one? I think so, but it's going to come down to the feedback I receive from everyone about what days work best and stuff like that. I hope I can send you a video of my shadow puppet skills to make it in. Please do. Send it to me on Discord. I will happily look at your shadow puppet skills and definitely can take that into consideration. You could put a comment, Alyssa, in your code maybe so folks would know what to do. Zedong said, still holding on the Perl for automating stuff. Yep. For sure. Still a popular choice. Cookie, there was a bounty for me running the CSS3 class, the animations class. And so everyone contributed to that bounty. They used all their channel points to help push it. It was like a 5K goal. So the Discord channel already got it for you. I mean, sorry, the Twitch channel already got it for you. Everyone in chat contributed their channel points to getting that class. So it's already unlocked. You don't have to worry. We're just going to do it live here on Twitch. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you had a good break. Let's get back to the slides. If you're coming back to us and you don't have the slides, it's micro Leons. All right, we'll go at micro Leons. I'll change it tonight. If you're new, go ahead and do exclamation point slides to get the slides for today. If you want the materials, exclamation point Discord, and you can get them in our follow along channel. All right. All right, in chat, please. What is the best TV show of all time? Go ahead and put it in chat. I'll give you a second. Breaking Bad, Dark, Martin, 9-9, The Wire, Always Sunny, The Office, Parks and Rec, West Wing, Doctor Who, Las Vegas, Friends, The Walking Dead, That 70s Show, Fargo, The Prisoner, The Office, King of the Hill, South Park, Naruto, House of Cards, Firefly, that's a good one, Supernatural, One Piece, Red Dwarf, Avatar, Mr. Robot, Seinfeld. All right, folks. These were all great suggestions and great answers, but the correct answer is The Bachelor. The Bachelor is the greatest television show of all time. It has everything that you'd want out of a television show. It has comedy. It has mystery. It has drama. It has everything that you would value in a TV show in one program. So the correct answer here, is The Bachelor. Okay. So tonight we are going to have a series of Bachelor themed challenges for you to complete. Okay. Just so that you can experience, if you haven't yet, tonight you're going to experience the best show ever made. Okay. And specifically tonight, 3 people did leave. Specifically tonight, we're talking about Juan Pablo's season of The Bachelor, which might be the best season of The Bachelor that was ever created. Okay? So, in the starter code for tonight, we have Bachelor Code. So, I want you to go ahead and open that entire folder, that entire Bachelor Code folder in Atom. And if you open the entire folder, let me close this one. If you open the entire folder, you're going to see that there's actually 3 different challenges. Okay, it's going to be 3 different challenges. You don't have to be part of Bachelor Nation to understand any of this. I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to tell you all the relationships, all the drama, all the things that you need to know about Juan Pablo's season of The Bachelor. We're going to learn about it tonight. All right, so it's actually 3 individual challenges. And so the first challenge is here. And if you go ahead and you just open that HTML file in the browser, that's where we'll start. I have the solutions, so I'm actually going to open the solution in my browser, and here you go. All right, so here is 3 lovely contestants from Juan Pablo's season of The Bachelor. Now, in chat, and this is for all the marbles. Can anybody tell me in chat why Juan Pablo's season of The Bachelor was the most controversial season of The Bachelor ever? Anybody know why Juan Pablo's season of The Bachelor was truly the most controversial season? Everyone's like, no. Juan Pablo's season of The Bachelor was the most controversial at the time because at the end, he did not propose. He gave her the rose and said, hey, we're not going to get married. We can continue this thing if you want to continue this thing, but I'm not proposing. Blew everyone's mind. Super controversial. So, in Juan Pablo's season of The Bachelor, Nikki was given the final rose. Okay? Nikki was given the rose. So what happens is when you click on the final rose, I want Claire, who's over here. I gotta highlight this. Right? Claire, unfortunately, did not receive the final rose. And Charlene, unfortunately, did not receive the final rose. Nikki, however, did. So when I click on final rose, what I want to have happen is, unfortunately, Claire and Charlene must go, and we should only have Nikki left in the DOM. Okay? So if you look at your starter code, we're going to see that the thing we click on has the ID of final rows. We're going to see that we have 3 images that are there to start. Our JavaScript is linked correctly, right? Nikki is actually a pediatric nurse, okay? So Dennis is close, right? She's a pediatric nurse. She takes care of little kids. So pretty close, all right? Now, if you go to your main JavaScript here, right? If you go to the main JavaScript here, you're going to notice that there's some code missing. So to get yours to work like mine works, you're going to have to insert some code. So you're going to have to take these missing bits of code and insert your own code. Okay? So I'm going to give everyone 2 minutes on the clock to get this working. Okay? Oh, Big Nash, that's cool. All right. Go ahead and take 2 minutes. I'm going to put it on the clock here and get this code working. When you click on final rows, Claire and Charlene got to go, and just Nikki should be left. 2 minutes on the clock. Go for it. Boom. What? I just started the timer. How are folks already done? Wild. Is this Bachelor Code 1? It doesn't look the same. Yes, this should be Bachelor Code 1, Jess. Make sure you're looking at... Oh, sorry. I have Derp. I'm sorry, folks. I had for me, I had the wrong one up. I clicked on the wrong JavaScript file. There we go. This is it. Sorry, yeah. This is JavaScript file from the first bit of code. So keep the second folder closed and the third folder closed. We're in the first example right now. This is the index.html from the first example and the main JavaScript. I clicked on the wrong JavaScript file. Thank you, Jess. That was a great catch. Woo, folks coming in done. That's nice. We got 48 seconds left. Keep digging. If you're new and you need the starter code, ! Discord and chat. Join our Discord, agree to all the rules, and you'll get all the starter code for tonight. Just Nikki. Just Nikki is supposed to stay. Alyssa, I would keep that one still. I would keep that one still hidden. Profanity is okay. I think that was not a great joke, though. Ooh, 6 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. All right, let's take a look at this together. I'm going to close my solution, and I'm going to close this one as well. And so, all right, I'm going to open up my index.html in the browser. Right now, when I click on final rows, nothing is happening. So let's work through the changes that we need to make to get this working. All right. So when I click on the final rows, I want to add an event listener click. And when I click something, I always want a set of instructions to run. All right. I always want a set of instructions to run. And so I'm going to change this line of code here to hide. Perfect. Oh, yeah. Look at people in chat already. Good job, Sophia. All right. So I'm going to change this to hide because I want this specific set of instructions that has the name of hide to run. Okay. And then I want 2 individual images to disappear. I want Claire's image to disappear, and I want Charlene's image to disappear. So if we look, Claire, the image has the ID of Claire, and this image has the ID of Charlene. Oh, crap. I actually spelled Claire's name wrong. Claire does not have an I in her name. Cool. So I'm going to target Claire, and I'm going to target Charlene. And I'm going to put it inside of here. Folks are already got it in chat. I see. Perfect. So I'm going to do hashtag, or we call it Octothorpe Claire. And then I'm going to do same thing, but for Charlene. So go ahead and do Octothorpe Charlene. Cool. And there we go. So now what should happen? All right. What should happen is when I click on the final rows, it should run this set of instructions. And then what's going to happen is it's going to target Claire, which is the image of Claire. And we're going to change its display property to none. When you do display property of none, it removes it from the DOM. So it's pulling it from the DOM. Okay. It's removing it from taking up space in the DOM. And then I'm going to do the same thing here for Charlene. Going to remove it. And so if we save all this and we go back and we refresh, it should be working now. Click on final rows and boom, Claire and Charlene go away. All right, let's move on to the next one. So just to be sure, I'm going to close my HTML and my JavaScript just so I don't make that mistake. I'm going to go to number 2. I'm going to open up that index.html and this JavaScript file. Cool. So we got to open it in the browser. All right. So the next bachelorette was actually Andy. Andy was an associate district attorney from Atlanta. She became the next bachelorette. I thought this was a huge mistake. In my eyes, it should have been Charlene. The love of my life is my wife. We've been together for a very long time. But she knows next in line was Charlene. She's an opera singer, right? An opera singer, right? And Claire is the best contestant we've ever had on The Bachelor. In fact, she was supposed to be the next bachelorette for the upcoming season, and then some things fell through because Claire's wild. She's given us the best content we've ever had on The Bachelor, Bachelor in Paradise, Bachelor in Winter. So these would have been 2 phenomenal candidates, right? 2 phenomenal candidates for a bachelorette, and they gave it to Andy. And Andy messed it all up. She chose the wrong person at the end. I'm still mad about it. Andy was actually a bridesmaid at Nikki's wedding, and Nikki didn't marry Juan Pablo. Right? Nikki didn't marry Juan Pablo. right? Their relationship ended, but Nikki still had Andy at her wedding as a bridesmaid. What? All right. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, folks. So what we're going to do is I want you to be able to choose. I want you to be able to have the power of who the next bachelorette should have been. So what's going to happen is when you click on Andy, it should show Andy's image. If you click on Claire, it should show Claire's image. And if you click on Charlene, it should show Charlene's image. Cal's night, thank you. So you get to pick. The power is in your hands now. But to get this to work, you got to write the code. All right, so here we go. Couple things I did to make our lives a little bit easier. I created some variables, right? I created some variables that enable us to select some different things that are already in the DOM. So if we look, the things that we're actually clicking are here. The things we're actually clicking here are Andy next, Claire next, and Charlene next. So we know that those are going to have to be our event listeners. But the things that we're hiding and showing are these images down here. And there's one important thing that we need to note for the images that are here is they're not showing up in the beginning because they have this class of hidden. If we look at our CSS, the class of hidden is actually making the images not show up by default. Okay? Ghost said, can I pick dominoes to marry? Right? So that class of hidden is actually putting display none on all of those elements. Right? So that's why the images aren't showing up by default. So we know that when we click on the text, we're going to have to do some stuff to make these images show up. And the thing we're probably going to have to do is work with that class. So here, what I've done is instead of having to constantly select Andy, the image from the DOM, I've put Andy as a variable. So wherever I use the text Andy, it's actually Andy's image. Wherever I have Claire, it's actually Claire's image. And wherever I have Charlene, it's actually Charlene's image. So what I need you to do, is to get this working. When I click on one of their names, it should show their image, but one other spicy thing should happen. It should remove the other two. This is your choice. You get to pick who the bachelorette should have been. So it should remove the other two images if they're present and just show the one that you clicked on. Okay? Excuse me. I'm going to put 3 minutes on the clock. Go ahead and get this working, folks. 3 minutes, please. 3 minutes. Go for it. Boom. 3 minutes on the clock. Put some tunes on here. This one's going to be a little bit harder. And we're going to talk through all the code here. So if it's not making sense, you're getting a little stuck, use the MDN to help you if you need help with it. We're going to talk through it all, though. 2 minutes, 40 seconds. Go for it. Miriam said, it's your choice, but it better be Charlene. Dang right. Muhammad, don't worry. We're going to go through it all together. Right now, you're just trying to fill in some code here. You should be able to handle click events. Go ahead and start with your click events first. You should know how they work. We kind of just did that with the last example. So do what we did last example to get the click events working. And then you're going to have to figure out how to get these images to show and hide. Remember, we talked about the class is the thing that's causing them to have some trouble here. If you finish, go ahead and put done in the chat. If this is really complicated and you're not kind of grasping anything today, it's okay. Don't worry. This is your first time kind of jumping into JavaScript. You might feel that way. We have office hours where you can always come and get caught up. Woo! Miriam's done. Well done. There you go, Ebony. Just let it come into you, let it absorb, let it start processing in the background, and we'll keep pushing. We're also going to walk through this, so please ask questions as we walk through it to make sure that things make sense. It's absolutely okay that you're confused, Redbird. These are all new things. We have not seen any of these things yet, so there's no way that this should make sense if you haven't seen it before, right? So you're trying to make guesses here, and hopefully your guesses pan out. If they don't, we're going to go over it in 28 seconds. So a lot of this is new. Don't worry, we're going to go over it all together. I just wanted to introduce a few new concepts here, and that's why we're kind of taking some jumps here. Start with the click events, though. We should be able to get the click events going. All right, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. Let's go over this together. Don't worry if you didn't finish it. There's a lot of new stuff here that we haven't touched yet, so don't worry. You're making some educated guesses. Some of them panned out, some of them didn't. That's totally okay. Let's work through this together. All right. Let's start with our click events. All right. If we go back and we look here, we know that when we click on Andy, we want something to happen. Okay. When we click on Andy, we want something to happen. So when we click on Andy, what do we need? If we're clicking on something, what do we need? If we're clicking on something, chat, what do we need? If we're clicking on something, what do we need? Yeah, Bugaboo came in first. An event listener, right? If we're clicking on something, we need an event listener. Okay? So that's the first thing I'm going to focus with. I'm seeing that my users can click. I'm going to worry about my event listeners first. Okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So when I click on Andy next, remember that's the text, right? That's the text that I decided I'm going to click on, right? All right, that's the text I'm going to click on, right? Let's double check. Let's look at the index.html. Here's the text I'm clicking on, right? Here's the text I'm clicking on. We can see that it has the ID of Andy next. So I have to put an event listener on this piece of text, okay? This is the thing I'm clicking on. So I know I needed an event listener for Andy next. So let's go ahead and take a look at our JavaScript. Here's my event listener. I am targeting Andy next, which was the text. I'm adding a click event. Okay. I'm adding a click event. And then what do I want to run? I want to run this set of instructions here. This is going to be all my instructions for when I click on Andy next. Okay. This is going to be all my instructions for when I click on Andy next. So up here, I'm going to replace this insert code with Andy next. Okay, that's all I did. That's my event listener. So all I'm saying here, is when I click on that piece of text, right, that text that said Andy, when I click on that piece of text, run these sets of instructions. Okay, that's it. Let's set up the click event for the other pieces of text. So let's go back and take a look. All right. The other piece of text I can click on is Claire. Claire has the ID of Claire next. So let me make sure I have an event listener for this piece of text. Let me go back. All right, here we go. Find something that has the ID of Claire next. That's it. Let me add an event listener. And this event listener is going to call another set of instructions. My Claire set of instructions are down here. So the name of the set of instructions I am going to run is Claire next. So let me go ahead and put in Claire next here. So let me go ahead and just replace this with declare next. Cool. And then let's look at the last one. The last piece of text that we have is Charlene, the most important one, right? We have the last bit of text here, which is Charlene. So if we look, Charlene has the ID of Charlene next. So I'm going to put an event listener that's listening for a click on Charlene. So let's go back to our JavaScript. And here we go. We're going to find Charlene next, which is that piece of text. And we're going to add an event listener. And that event listener is going to be for the next set of instructions that we have down here, which is Charlene next. Okay. So let's go ahead and fill this in. Charlene next. There we go. So it's a little big. Let me make it a little bit smaller. There we go. And all fits on one line. So that's it. We got our event listeners going. All right. So when things are overwhelming, right, and things aren't making sense, start with your pseudocode. All right. Start with your pseudocode, and then start with the things that you definitely know how to do. You should feel comfortable with event listeners now, right? We've done a couple of them. We just did one a few seconds ago. So don't be afraid to kind of jump in and do the things that you know how to do and kind of avoid the things that you don't feel comfortable with, right? So now we have all of our event listeners set up, okay? Now what I want to do is when I click on Andy next, let's just handle Andy first. I want to show her image. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete these 2 lines of code real quick. I'm not going to comment them out. Let's just forget about those for right now. All right? Let's forget about those 2 lines of code. What I want to do is when I click on Andy next is I want to see Andy's image. Chat. Why is Andy's image not showing up in the browser right now? Why is Andy's image right down here? Why is Andy's image not showing in the browser? Boom. Right now, Andy's image has a class of hidden, a CSS class, right? It's some CSS that's stopping the image from showing up, okay? So let's actually look at that CSS and see what it says. Class of hidden. Let's go to our CSS. Class of hidden, display none. So it's this pesky class, right? It's this pesky class that's stopping Andy's image from showing up. So if I want Andy's image to show up, what do I have to do? If I want Andy's image to show up, what do I have to do? Throw it in chat. What do I need to do? Boom. Sylphia got it. Luck Monkey, you're correct too. If we want to show Andy's image, we have to remove that class. We have to get rid of it. We have to get rid of the hidden class. Okay? We have to get rid of the hidden class. So, in JavaScript, we have a way of dealing with classes that are on the things that we target. Okay? We have this lovely helper method called ClassList. Okay? What ClassList does is it gives us a bunch of options to deal with classes. We can add them. We can remove them. We can toggle them. We can do a bunch of stuff to classes that are on the elements that we select. Okay? So let's ignore the text Andy here for right now. Let me go ahead and target Andy, the image, based on its ID. So let me do document dot query selector, and I am going to select the image that has the ID of Andy. All right? So if I look, this image has the ID of Andy, and it has the class of hidden. So what I'm going to do is, instead of doing anything weird. I'm just going to toggle the class of hidden. Right? And it might be easier. Let's not do toggle. Let's just do remove. Let's save this. Let's see what it does. And I'm going to come back and we'll walk through it. Actually, let's keep, did I select the right one? Query selector. Let's keep toggle for now. Hold on, let me make sure I type this right. Yep, looks good. All right, let's go ahead and keep that. Let me come back. Let me refresh. I think we have some errors here. Let me inspect real quick. Oh, because I didn't get rid of the errors that are elsewhere in the code. I'm sorry. Line 16. The downsides of doing this live, folks. Let me comment this out real quick. Let me save. All right, because I had some errors further down in my code, so that's why I was getting some. That's why I wasn't getting what I wanted to have happen. Let's go back. Let's refresh. Let's click on Andy now, and boom. All right, so now we're cooking, folks. So when I clicked on Andy, her image appeared. Okay, when I clicked on Andy, Andy's image appeared. Let's walk through what just happened. Okay, let's walk through what just happened. I clicked on the text Andy. That text has the ID of Andy next. So when I clicked, I fired my event listener. That event listener calls the function or the sets of instructions called Andy next. All right. So here are the sets of instructions that ran. Okay. All I did now is I targeted something different. I targeted the image that has the ID of Andy. And I said, you know what? Toggle the hidden class. Okay? Toggle the hidden class. Think of a light switch. That's a toggle, right? If the light is off and you flip the switch, the light comes on. If the light is already on and you hit the switch, it toggles off. So it's going to either remove or add the hidden class. Since Andy already had the class of hidden, it removed it. Okay? It removed it. Okay? Since Andy already had the class of hidden, it removed it. That's all it did. It just said, hey, get rid of that hidden class. The cool thing is we can actually see it. So let me refresh. Let me use the inspector. Let's look inside of here. Look. Here's Andy. Pay attention to this. Here's the image that has the class of Andy. Okay? All right. Here's Andy. Has the class of hidden. Watch what happens. Watch what happens when I click on the text of Andy. What happened? Chat, what happened when I clicked on Andy? Hidden got removed. Right? Hidden got removed. Let me click on Andy again. It came back. That's the toggle. So, built into JavaScript is something called class list. And class list gives us a bunch of helper instructions. Things that are built into the language that does some heavy lifting for us. One of those things is class list. With classless, we can add classes, we can remove classes, and as we're seeing right now, we can toggle classes. All toggle means is if it has the class, it removes it, and if it doesn't have the class, it adds it automagically. Okay? So that's all we're doing here. We're clicking a piece of text, and that piece of text is firing a set of instructions that either adds a class or removes a class. Adds a class or removes a class. So let's go take a look at that again. So here we go. We click on that piece of text. It fires the Andy next set of instructions. And right now there's only one instruction. And that instruction says, find Andy's image, look at its classes. If it has hidden, remove it. And if it doesn't have hidden, add it. That's what toggle is doing. Okay? So if we went along, we could fix this for the other two contestants as well. Okay? We'll come back to the stuff that's above. Don't worry. Let's fix this for the other two contestants as well. We already have their event listeners, right? We already have their event listeners ready and going. I'm going to comment out these two lines. Don't worry. We're going to come back to them. I'm going to comment out these two lines. Don't worry. We're going to come back to them as well. And I want this to work for every, right? I want this to work for every image for each of the women. So let's go here and do document.query selector. And for this one, we're going to target Claire. Cool. And once again, we're going to target the class of hidden. And then we're going to do the same thing down here, but we're going to target Charlene. Document.query selector. And we're going to target Charlene. And once again, we're going to target hidden. So what we have now is the ability to add or remove hidden from each of the images. We can add or remove hidden on Andy's image. We can add or remove hidden on Claire's image. And we can add or remove the hidden class on Charlene's image. Right? Query selector is using the ID. We're not using document.getElement by ID just because query selector is a little bit more universal. And so if folks are using this and they want to target classes or other stuff, they could still use query selector. All right. So now what should happen is since our event listeners are all hooked up, we have an event listener listening to each piece of text and firing each of the sets of instructions. This should work for every one of the contestants. So let's save this. Let's go back to the browser. And let me scroll this down a little bit. There we go. And let me refresh. All right. Here we go. There's a nice refresh. And now let's pay attention to these classes. Let's pay attention to these classes. Okay. Here we go. I click on Andy. Boom. Andy's class of hidden got removed. If I click again, hidden comes back. And the cool thing is that it's working for all three of them now. Right? I can add or remove. I can add or remove. I can add or remove. Right? And if we go ahead and we close the inspector, we're going to start seeing this working. All right. So if I click on Andy, Andy's image shows up. If I click again, goes away. Claire comes up, goes away. Charlene goes up. Let it stay here for a few seconds. And goes away. Right? And so the interesting thing is we can do it for all three of them now. Okay? We can do it for all three of them now. But here's the problem. What if I have Andy up first and then I click on Charlene? Now they're both up. They're both up, right? We only want one at a time. I only want one at a time. So when I click Charlene, I only want Charlene up. Andy has to go. Get to stepping. I want you off the screen. So when I click on Charlene, what do I need to do to Andy's image and Claire's image potentially? What do I need to do? Yeah, I need to hide them, right? I need to turn on hidden, add that class back to them. I need to hide both of them. So let's start with Charlene to make sure this works specifically for Charlene. So I'm going to come down to Charlene, and I'm going to uncomment these two lines. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to target, if I'm clicking on Charlene, I'm going to target Claire. So I'm going to do query selector. I'm going to say, hey, Claire, time to go. I'm going to add the hidden class. I'm going to add the hidden class to Claire. Right? Same thing for Andy. I'm going to select Andy. All right, I'm going to select Andy. And I'm going to say, sorry, Andy, time to go. And I'm going to add the hidden class. All right, I'm going to add the hidden class. So what I'm doing is I know that I have clicked on Charlene. And so since I know I have clicked on Charlene, I can do some cleanup. I can say, Claire, get hidden. Andy, get hidden. Right? And Charlene, come up or go away. Okay? All right? So that's what I'm doing here. So let's go back. Let's take a look at this, and we'll come back and look at the code again. I'm going to save. I'm going to go back. I'm going to refresh. And I want to look at this first in the inspector. All right, so here we go. Gotta lower just a little. There we go. All right, so what I want to do is I want to start. I'm going to click on Andy. And we saw that Andy's hidden class went away, right? Pay attention here. Andy's hidden class went away. I'm going to click on Claire, and Andy's hidden class went away. But when I click on Charlene, right? When I click on Charlene, look, Andy and Claire are there on the screen now. I don't want that. I'm getting ready to click on Charlene. When I click on Charlene, I want Claire and Andy to go away, and I want Charlene to be shown. So look what happens when I click on Charlene. Boom. Claire and Andy get the hidden class back, and Charlene loses it. Charlene loses the hidden class. Don't worry, we're going to get to those. We're going to get to those defined variables at the top in a little bit. All right. So we were able to, with our JavaScript code, right? With our JavaScript, we were able to say, you know what? I know I just clicked on Charlene, right? I know I just clicked on Charlene. The only way this set of instructions runs is if I clicked on Charlene. If I clicked on that Charlene text. So since I know that I clicked on the Charlene text, I can do some stuff. All right? I can go ahead and say, you know what? Hide Claire, hide Andy, and then let Charlene exist like normal. If it's the first time I'm clicking, her image is going to show. If it's my second time clicking, unfortunately, her image is going to go away. Right? And so the toggle class works like normal, but these two instructions are going to run every time. There might be a chance that Claire and Andy are still hidden. Right? There might exist a chance that Claire and Andy aren't actually shown. My code can't distinguish if they're already shown or not. I'm just going to do the same thing every time. Does not matter. Every single time, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to I'm going to hide Claire. I'm going to hide Andy. I don't know the state of my program. Claire could be shown, Andy couldn't. I don't care. I just know if I click on Charlene, those got to go, and Charlene should be visible. Okay. So all I'm talking about is adding and removing this class. I know if I add the class, right? If I add the class, the image is going to disappear. If I remove the class, it's going to be visible, all right, for the image. Now, what I'm going to need to do is, unfortunately, I'm going to need to set this up for both Andy and Claire, right? Because if I click on Claire, I want Andy and Charlene to go away, but Claire to be shown. And if I click on Andy, I want Claire and Charlene to go away, but Andy to be shown. Okay. Yeah, I can't change hidden because hidden is the name of the class in the CSS. The CSS is the thing that's hiding or showing because I'm just removing or adding that class. JavaScript's great at adding stuff to adding stuff to the DOM, right? The rendering of the HTML and CSS. It's also really good at manipulating those classes, adding and removing them. So that's all I'm doing. Okay. So if I go ahead and I want to set this up to work for Andy and Claire, I'm going to have to do the same thing I did down here. I'm just going to change some names around. The problem is I'm repeating a lot of code here. I'm going to have to say document.get query selector Claire and Andy multiple times. I'm going to have to say document.get query selector Charlene multiple times. So instead of having to type this out every single time, remember, that's not dry. Do not repeat yourself. That's not dry code. So instead of having to repeat myself over and over and over again, I created some variables at the top that go ahead and grab those images for me. So Andy is the image here, all right? Here's the image for Andy. Here's the image for Claire. And here's the image for Charlene. So instead of having to type document.querySelector Andy, document.querySelector Claire, document.querySelector Charlene over and over and over and over again, repeating myself, not making my code dry, I created variables. And so I can go ahead and use those variables instead of having to do all this right here. So document.querySelector Charlene goes to Charlene. And document.querySelector Andy goes to Andy. And document.querySelector Claire goes to Claire. Right? Pretty straightforward. Right? Pretty straightforward. Right? And that's going to save me a lot of time. Because look, I have to go all up here and do it too. It's going to save me so much time. Claire. And then I know that I'm going to hide Andy and I'm going to hide Charlene up here. So I can go ahead and use that variable here. I know this is going to be hidden. Right? We're going to get rid of that class hidden. Going to get rid of that class hidden. And I'm going to use it here too. So this is going to be Andy. And this is going to be Charlene. And this is going to save me so much code. So much code. All right, so much code. I've just simplified this so much. And I'm going to do the last one up here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and uncomment these lines. And replace this with hidden. All right. There we go. And now we're hidden. I know we're at 3 hours, folks. I normally like to cut it off by 9:30. So I just want to finish this up. Hopefully, make folks feel a little bit more comfortable, and then we'll end here for tonight. Yeah, 808. You can change the color scheme to be a lot of different things that work well for you. Yeah, let's change line 12 as well. Good catch, Jess. I'm going to change this to Andy. So the cool thing is now, look how much cleaner that code looks. Instead of having document.getElement by document.querySelector everywhere, it's just these nice, neat little names. And we just did it once up here. This is the beauty of programming, folks, is that you can do something once and reuse it over and over and over again. All right. Questions while we're here, folks. Questions while we're here. I know this is difficult. I know this is hard. I know there's a lot of weird things that are new here. You just saw my my blinds. I know there's stuff that are new here. So it don't worry about that. Don't worry like if it's feeling a little hard. We're gonna keep pushing. We're gonna keep learning. We're gonna keep moving. Okay. Alrighty, folks. For now, for const and let, just remember like let can be reassigned, const cannot. That's the big difference for right now. We'll talk about more on Thursday. Yeah, Straight Jacket, you can hide and show stuff with classes like we saw today, so it's pretty easy. All right. All right, so there's one more here. There's one more. Give me a few more minutes of your time, and then we'll call it. So there's one more here, and it is this number 3. And I'm going to go ahead and open it in the browser so we can see it. We're going to end right now. We're going to end in like 3 seconds. I know we're getting really late, and so I just want to show this because I'm going to assign it for homework, and then we'll end it. Okay. So if we look here, this is a very simple one that says who has the final rows. Okay. If I click on Claire, I want it to alert wrong. Claire did not get the final rows. All right. All right. Claire did not get the final rows. When I click on Nikki, I want it to show her lovely face because she did get the final rows. Okay. Now, this is going to be a really tricky one because both of Claire and Nikki have the class of contestant, but only one has a rows. Okay. So what I want to do is when I click on either one of these contestants, I want it to check to see if the thing I just clicked on has the class of rows. If it has the class of rows, it should show Nikki's image. If it does not have the class of rows, it should alert wrong. Okay? It should alert wrong. So I want you to work on this for homework. Google the ever-living crap out of everything you see in that JavaScript file, right? Use the MDN to your absolute most advantage, okay? That's what I want you to do for homework. Then once you finish number 3 for homework, I want you to go ahead and read the rest of the slides. Get caught up on the rest of the slides. And on Thursday, we'll come back. We'll learn about functions. We'll push a little bit more. Sorry, this class went a little bit over. And we'll come back. So get number 3 working. MDN the crap out of everything. Finish the rest of the slides. You can just remove the /live to move for the slides. Let's end it with a raid, though, folks. I really appreciate you giving me your time. I don't like to go over the 3 hours. So let's go ahead and do a raid. Let's send somebody else some positivity. Let's give somebody else some love. And then let's end it for tonight, and we'll call it there. So grabbing somebody right now to send some love. Go in their chat, say good vibes, tell them what you're up to, learning some JavaScript. I think I see, is that Prince? Let's see. All right, I think I got somebody here for us. All right, setting up the raid now. Let's go ahead and do this, folks. Send good vibes to them. All right, raid should be coming in. It was good seeing you all tonight. See you all on Thursday for our last class. Oh no, our last class. All right, it's our last class. Hold on, setting up the raid, folks. Setting up the raid. Don't leave. Let's send them some good folks. Let's send some love. It's been wonderful having you. If you have questions, hit me up on our Discord. All right, found somebody great. Starting the raid. Should start in a few seconds. All right, folks. See you over there.